Hi, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this 766th stated meeting of the Philadelphia Historical Commission. I'm Zach Frankel, the chair of the Historical Commission. We'll start by doing introductions of the commission. We'll go around to my left.
Good morning, Dan McCubry, architect, chair of the Architectural Review Committee.
Good morning, Kyle O'Connor, representing the Department of Public Property.
Good morning, Matthew Treat, representing the Department of Planning and Development.
Good morning, Donna Carney, designee of the Planning Commission.
Good morning, Franz Robauer.
Good morning, Emily Cooperman, architectural and landscape historian and chair of the Historic Designation Committee.
Good morning, John Leck, representing the Department of Licenses and Inspections.
Good morning, Bob Thomas, preservation architect here in Philadelphia and a member of the commission.
Good morning, Thomas Holloman, architect, council president designee.
Thank you, everybody. And before we dive, I'm sorry, Stephanie, excuse me.
Good morning, Stephanie Michelle, representative of a community organization.
Great, thank you, everybody. Before we dive into today's agenda, bittersweet and saddened to say that this is Donna Carney's last meeting with us representing the Planning Commission. She's going on to much deserved retirement. She's been, no? I thought I was told retirement, no? I'll let you speak for yourself.
Yes, thanks, Zach.
Excuse me.
I don't like to use that R word.
No.
Yeah, it's been an honor to serve on the commission with all my esteemed colleagues. I've enjoyed it. I think I started in 2021. It was during COVID and we were all not seeing each other, but on little screens, which wasn't fun, but it's nice to be in person again. I am also announcing my successor, who is here today, Amina Monavarian. She is on the Planning Commission staff and she's highly involved with civic design review, has a great eye, and she'll be very, very more than competent for this role. So again, thank you to everyone that I've served with. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you for everything. Yeah. Thank you. And everyone, Donna's been a really strong and invaluable member of our committee for several years since I joined the committee. So we're going to miss you and thank you so much. I'm sorry for getting bad intel. But anyway, with that, we will dive into this 766th stated meeting of the Philadelphia Historical Commission. The first order of business is we'll turn over to John Farnham, who's not here in physical attendance, but he's here virtually and is going to give a little bit of information on how this meeting is going to run. Today's agenda is pretty robust, so I would just ask that members of the public limit their comments to no more than 2 minutes, and participants try to limit their comments and keep things concise because we do have a lot to get through this morning. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. John Farnham.
Thanks very much, Chair Frankel. I'm sorry I'm not there in the room. I'm down in my office on the 13th floor because I came home from vacation sick and I don't want to infect any of you, but I apologize I'm not there. The meeting today is being recorded, and by participating in the meeting, you are consenting to being recorded. The recording will be available later today or perhaps on Monday on the Historical Commission's website, www.phila.gov/historical. Also on that website, on the public meetings page of the website, you'll find the agenda for today's meeting, all application materials, nominations, and any public comment received by noon yesterday. Every agenda item includes an opportunity for public comment. If you'd like to comment during the public comment period and you are out on Zoom, you'll have to raise your hand to indicate that you'd like to speak. If you happen to be on a standard telephone, *9 to raise your hand. Once the chair has called on you to speak, you'll need to toggle the audio control, the mute, unmute control on your computer to be able to speak. If you happen to be on a standard telephone, *6 to mute and unmute. And of course, if you're in the audience, you can just make yourself known by raising your hand. The commission typically makes its decisions by unanimous consent, but if there is apparent disagreement among commissioners, a roll call vote will be conducted. The commission has adopted guidelines for conduct at its meetings. Those guidelines stipulate order, presentation, time limits, other important rules regarding the meeting. So if you are unfamiliar with those, please take a look. They are on the public meetings page of the Historical Commission's website. And then finally, I know we have had signs up noting this, but there are two continuances at today's meeting. So the application for 6701 to 19 North Broad Street and the application for 1910 Chestnut Street will not be heard at this meeting. They've been rescheduled for the July meeting. With that, I'll turn it back to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Farnham. With that, we'll move into the first order of business today, which is the adoption of the minutes from the 765th stated meeting of the Philadelphia Historical Commission. Is there a motion to adopt those minutes? Motion. Great. Second? Great. Any in opposition? Seeing no opposition, that motion is adopted by unanimous consent. Thank you so much, commissioners. We'll move into the report on the Architectural Commission. I'll turn over to Dan McCoubry as the chair. We have nothing on the consent agenda today, so we will start with the first item, which is 4238-40 Chester Avenue. Thanks. And turn over to Alex from the Historic Commission staff to present.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is Alex Till from the Commission staff. I will first be reading a brief overview for this particular project this morning. But could we elevate the applicant? Might be Brett Harmon, it might be Rustin Oler here as the architect representing the application. So this application proposes to construct 8 townhouses at 4238 to 40 Chester Avenue in the Southeast Spruce Hill Historic District. This site is currently an open lot that is classified as non-contributing in the Historic District. Therefore, the Historical Commission's jurisdiction over the undeveloped site is review and comment only, meaning that the Historical Commission and its Advisory Architectural Committee may offer non-binding comments on the application at public meetings, but may not approve or deny it. Each of the proposed townhouses will be 4 stories tall with a garage entrance on the first floor and a tall mansard roof on the 4th. They will be primarily clad with charcoal-colored hardy plank siding and composite metal panels, with a small amount of brick around each entryway. Each building will also feature a roof deck with a pilot house. Mansard roofs are plentiful on other buildings in the Historic District, but the proposed mansards are much taller. The new buildings will be located on the boundary of the Historic District, though there are views of the sides and rear from within. The Architectural Committee at their meeting did not take a vote, as this is a review and comment jurisdiction, but offered the following comments. The application partially satisfies Standard 9. The new buildings will be compatible with the overall size and scale of the Historic District, but will not be compatible with the massing and architectural features of the Historic District. The dark-colored contemporary cladding materials are incompatible, and the mansards are out of proportion with the nearby historic houses. The applicants did submit a revised application after the Architectural Committee, in which they slightly adjusted the shape and size of the mansards and the materials for cladding them.
Great, thank you, Alex. With that, we will turn over to the applicant if they are present.
Hi, everybody. Rustin Oler from Harmon Deutsch Oler Architecture. Yeah, we took all the Architectural Committee's comments back to the developer and ownership. Made what adjustments we could. Previously, just as a historic background, there used to be a large apartment building on this site. Several decades ago, it was demolished due to a fire. It's been used for the past several years, probably 2 decades, as the College of Life Sciences used it as like a park and green space. And then when they sold to Jefferson, they sold it to our client. The site zone RTA 1, so it only allows for residential 2-family attached. Our project is under zoning review and is considered by right from a zoning standard. And then so we essentially adapted all the Architectural Committee's comments that the client was willing to make regarding the mansard and then how it turns and what's visible from the rear and some of the materials. So happy to take comments from the commission and take those back as well. We have been contacted by someone representing the nearby neighbors, and we agreed to continue to meet with them and keep them updated as the project evolves as well.
Great, thank you, Rustin. Are there any comments from commissioners at this time?
think there were several other comments from the architectural committee. I do appreciate that the mansard roof shape has changed, but the committee felt and agreed with the staff about the dark coloring, the limit of masonry materials, and then also concerned about the ground level, street level garages occupying virtually the entire 43rd Street front of the building. Also, some concerns about the slot between them. This is an area where they're twin houses, but they're generally twin with a space, and this is obviously a different module than that. But I personally also think that the mansard roof, which extends up high, so it becomes effectively the guardrail for roof deck. But in this case, it might be better to lower the mansard at least a couple of feet and then have a railing that might be visible in lieu of the kind of 3-foot plus parapet that you see in the renderings. I think we agreed with other comments about the trying to get parking into the rear. It's a slope site. Obviously, it'd be more difficult to do, but something that we had wished the applicant would consider.
Got it. Thanks, Dan. Any other comments from commissioners?
I have a question for Rustin. You said this is by right. Is
Yes.
there a zoning setback for the roof decks required on this project?
Yes, and will be provided. Just from the front and for the corner.
The corner property, yes.
yeah.
So the corner units are, probably the biggest impact on the area. Like Dan said, removing the mansard as part of the guard for the roof deck, that would have to be required setback anyway, so you'd have to have another guard inside the mansard roof deck on at least the corner property in the front of all the others. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah. So that is something that we have taken to the development team and they're in consideration with, and we'll continue to explore.
I think that would be a really good option to lower the mansard roof and not use it as a guard, since you're going to have a redundant guard further back on the roof decks. And it would really help lower this height of these mansards to make it fit into the area a lot better.
Okay.
Thanks, John. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I would corroborate the previous comments about lowering the mansard. I'd also suggest in discussing with your client that you point out that having this mansard sticking up above the roof will require a tremendous amount more maintenance. That having railing setback would make for a much easier and less expensive maintenance bill. And then, of course, also the buildings would fit in much better into the historic district and the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Any other comments?
I'm going to make one more comment. I think it's also the grayness of the front, having the bays the same color as the mansard. If the bays were a lighter color and the cornice was a lighter color, it would, I think, help break up the kind of the looming appearance of the elevations.
And then, correct me if I'm wrong, that's like a southwesterly facing facade. I mean, that's going to a lot of radiational heat if it's all that dark color. So we want to take that into consideration.
Thank you. Any other comments from commissioners? Any comments from?
I'll add one more, just a concern about the pilot houses. They really stick out like a sore thumb with the high contrast color. And speaking about the potential for lowering the mansard roof, that would make them potentially even more visible. I mean, I don't see any perspectival views from the street to understand what we would actually see, but the elevations don't do them a lot of favors.
Got it. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, to carry that a step further, looking at the plans, you have stairs that are approaching the roof. If you build the pilot house, is it a box?
It is a box, yeah.
A box. Well, now suddenly you have some ceilings that are 14, 15 feet high. that you can't clean easily, you can't paint easily. If you considered having a roof line of the pilot houses that followed the angle of the stairs, you'd have something which would be less expensive to build, much less expensive to maintain, and less obtrusive as well, but still give you all the access to the deck that you desire. Just
Yeah, we can look at that.
thank you.
Great. Thank you. Are there any comments from the public at this time?
Yes, we have David Traub's hand raised so far.
Go ahead, Mr. Traub.
David Traub here representing Save Our Sites. Just a comment, it would be ideal in this circumstance, since this project is in an historic district, to see a perspective rendering or even just an elevation showing the adjacent buildings or the context into which this project is inserted. I do recall that comment was somewhere in the documents anyway. But that would be really a good thing, so as to evaluate this project fairly. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public?
No additional hands are raised on Zoom. I just wanted to check, since we do have some folks in the audience, if there's anyone here to comment on this. Okay, does not look like it.
Great. All right, well, as there's no other comments from the public, this is for comment only, so I don't believe it requires a vote. We can move on to our next agenda item. Thank you.
Thanks,
very much.
everyone.
Thanks, everybody. We'll move on to our next agenda item, 2108 Sansom Street. We will present Ted from the Historic Commission staff to present on this.
Good morning, everyone. Is the applicant Adam Sangrilli joining us via Zoom? Do we see his name? If he does join us, he can raise his hand to be elevated. I will read a brief overview. This in-concept application proposes constructing a rooftop addition on a two-story former carriage house that is classified as contributing to the Rittenhouse-Fitler Historic District. The application includes preliminary floor plans and a section drawing showing a mansard roof treatment at the third floor level and a partial fourth floor with a roof deck set back from the front elevation. Renderings suggest the appearance of the building with the proposed addition, but appear to have been produced using generative artificial intelligence, and as such depict inconsistencies in the proportions, window configurations, and the existing building's relationship to its surrounding buildings. The discrepancies between these images make it difficult to evaluate the overall visual impact of the proposed work. In 2018, the Historical Commission approved a rooftop addition to this property proposed by a previous owner, which included a third floor setback 11 feet 3 inches. A roof deck and pilot house on top of the addition were to be set back an additional 12 feet 6 1/4 inches. That application went through various iterations with the aim of minimizing the visibility before being approved by the Historical Commission. The Commission has approved small additions and roof decks on a number of former carriage houses in this historic district. Generally, approved rooftop additions or decks have been set back from the primary facade to mitigate visibility. In one exception, at 2110 Chancellor Street, where the size of the lot precluded a setback, the additional third floor was designed in a contemporary style to differentiate it from the historic building. The Architectural Committee voted to recommend denial pursuant to Standards 3, 9, and the roof's guideline. And we don't have the applicant? Okay.
Great. All right, thank you, Ted. Seeing as the applicant is not with us, are there any comments from commissioners at this time?
I would add that actually the applicant did not appear before our committee either, but our committee was a little bit split opinion on this. I think there was agreement among some that the previous setbacks that had been established in the prior review should be maintained. There were some that would accept a mansard in the front, but not that particular kind of historicist mansard, and that would be something more contemporary, a contemporary expression and not a kind of a false history. There's a high visibility of this from the corner of Sampson and whatever the number street is there, 21st Street, or and as you can see in the photograph, the corner building's 3 stories high. So, and this building is the last one. It would set a precedent basically for adding on top of the other 2 carriage houses all the way up at the front. So what are
Thank you, Dan. Any other comments from commissioners?
Yes.
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah. In understanding this, having, I think the concept with the setbacks and differentiation would be successful. And even if it occurred on the other buildings, I think it would be successful because you would still see the 2-story period, and then you recognize that the community had changed, and et cetera, et cetera. So I guess it's not that, while you have to do yes or no denial, I would say if it's a denial with comments, I would be, if as long as you have the setbacks and it's differentiated one way or another, you know, then I would be in favor of it.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, I mean, I think that rendering really gives you a sense of why it doesn't meet the standards, because it does not differentiate itself sufficiently from the older construction. It's much too visible, and obviously the commission worked hard to come to a scheme that would be acceptable in terms of the setbacks, and I personally don't see any reason why we should reinvent that wheel.
Got it. Thank you. Seeing no other comments from commissioners, I will see if there's any comments from the public at this time.
No hands are raised in Zoom. And there are no folks here, it looks like, to comment on this in the audience.
Okay. Is there a motion from commissioners at this time?
I will make a motion of denial of, it's actually a conceptual approval, denial of conceptual approval of an overbuild on 2108 Sansom Street.
Great.
I'll
Thank you.
second.
Great. Any commissioners in opposition at this time? Seeing no opposition, that motion is adopted by unanimous consent. Thank you very much, commissioners. Thank you very much, Ted. We'll move on to our next order of business, which is 3331 Powelton Avenue, and we'll turn over to Allison from the Historic Commission staff to present.
Good morning, everyone. This application proposes legalizing windows installed and masonry work completed without the Historical Commission's approval or a building permit at 3331 Powelton Avenue. This residential property is located at the corner of Powelton Avenue and North 34th Street. Owing to its location, the front and side facades are visible from the public right-of-way. Most existing windows were non-historic. They were vinyl windows, but some of the windows in one of the bay windows may have dated to the original construction. In June 2025, the staff was notified of exterior work on the property, specifically the removal of multiple window sashes and masonry infill on the 3rd floor. The staff communicated with the owner and advised them that future window replacement or exterior masonry work would require the commission's approval. Several months later, despite this guidance, the windows in the original wood brick molds were removed and replaced with vinyl windows. 3rd floor rear windows were built down and smaller windows were installed. The Department of License and Inspections issued a violation for the unpermitted work in May 2026, and this prompted this request for legalization. Since the property is a multifamily property and a designated historic building, a building permit is required for window replacement. So the Architectural Committee recommended denial pursuant to Standard 6. I will note that between the Architectural Committee and this meeting, the applicant has proposed a compromise to replace all of the wood brick molds in exchange as a compromise if the commission approves the replacement windows. Kim, do we have the applicant with us?
Great.
Okay, thank
We'll-
you.
Great. We'll hear from the applicant now. The applicant, can go ahead.
Yes. So yes, like Allison said, but I can add a little bit detail. So when we bought the house, we got a permit. The works started roughly in May last year. And the first thing we realized all the inside work. So we find the front house, and because the window is basically cannot shut, and over months or a long time, and all the floor is basically rotted. So it's a giant hole on the third floor. We had to use the subfloor. Those are the we recognize. And also the rear building, is the wall is just the plaster is all black. We know some mold issue. So we remove that, then discuss with the structural engineer because we see the break is especially near the window is basic collapse and it's not lined up. Some just water is just pushed all over the place. And talk to them, they said, okay, you have to, near the window is nothing you can do other than rebuild. They suggest build a little bit higher so the water from the second floor roof doesn't come in, give you a little buffer because second floor in the rear is flat. So we saw that the contract did for the whole wall, middle section, not near the window. We use concrete cement pointer that wall to fix. Also, we use the center beam to really straighten the floor from the what's the second floor or the third floor roof, basically, because really is so long, the whole wall, rear wall kind of damaged. So we took the suggestion, and I didn't really pay attention. I saw the all inside work because the rear house they painted the black, so you can see from outside. And they built a little bit higher than I thought, and I thought maybe add a couple row, break from the inside, but they built a little bit higher, and also to add the header because there's no header there. So then we got a notice from the Historic Commission, Allison's office probably. And so we immediately explain the situation. And that's happened in summer. Then a couple months later, and another discovery in the basement, the sewer pipe need to be replaced because broken. They cannot do really plumbing work. We thought we have plumbing permit, we would be able to do it. But however, and LI said, no, you need a new permit because you disturb the slab in the basement. Because of that, not too long, before we even addressed the other broken window issue, and the job was stopped in September 1st. It's a September 1st or 5th, I don't remember, just early September, just a couple months after I talked to the office. And I also request for the reference, if we, in the future, if we replace window, what we do, they need approval. Because of stop work, nobody allowed even enter the house because of safety issue, because the basement, they're saying you disturbed the slab by fixing the sewer pipe. So the work was stopped. However, because the window was such a bad shape, and you can see the inside is black rotted, so the window is just, this is what I'm talking about, that's a red, yeah. This is the broken sewer pipe and in the underground, so we need to fix. Because need a new permit, then we stopped work for 7 months. During this time, the window is decayed it's really bad. So you can see window missing and the glass missing. And because the storm or winter, harsh winter, whatever happened, it's just, of course, I'm not going to, take the window down. It's just broken. And because we are not allowed into the house, so we cannot do much with the window, which I never expect to fix the window, replace the window when I bought the house, because only I saw is the inside, and the outside the window looks good, but it's not really, because the rod and the wood or inside is just falling apart, all of that. And however, because of the situation, I guess the neighbor complained saying you need to close the window. Then mouse come in, bird come in, all of that. Then I explained to the neighbor we couldn't address this window issue because we are not allowed, because stop order, nobody can enter this. Until we get a permit, we resume the work. So that's around the end of October 26th or whatever that time. And we got another violation saying you have to close the window. And we are talking to the LI saying we're not allowed. How could we go in to do all of this work? Then we got permission and while talking to them, I just look like the old window I can replace, match the old window, which we did. So we got a second notice, December, saying you have to do it. We thought, we are inexperienced. We thought that because when we got the permit, the historical commission proved inside work, whatever has a saying, I saw the old city government. They would know we have to address this. So we are under the pressure. All we did is replace the broken window with the new vinyl double hung window.
Thank you. Are there any comments from commissioners at this time? Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, it's very helpful to hear the history. But what we want to hear is what there's been a proposal made, a supplemental submission, and there's been a proposal made about what to do about this. I think that's where we should focus our attention.
Yeah.
Great.
Can I say something? You see, this is an example. You see the old window, like you see rotted. That's what I'm saying. But the proposal is we try to restore whatever the original, and we already talked to several company and provided the recommendation or reference to us. We already contact. We are going to restore the brick mortar. That's
Great.
the compromise.
Go ahead. We'd like to hear from Dan on this.
Yeah, I think there were kind of three areas here. One is there were existing vinyl windows which have been replaced with new vinyl windows, which obviously would not have been permissible under a usual review process. Second item is the infill of the window up on the third floor, which ostensibly was done because of moisture problems. I don't think that the sill area there was the source of moisture coming in. It was from the gutters, and that whole rear wall is coated because the pointing is bad and it probably had roof leaks. The third item is the bay window, which actually did have original windows in it, and those have been removed and replaced. So I think there's three, and then actually the fourth is the brick mold. So the brick molds have been removed. The original bay window sash has been removed and replaced with vinyl. So those are the two elements that original elements that have been removed in this process. So, in some ways, we could consider allowing the replacement vinyl windows if that's something to consider with the brick molds reapplied, but that the bay actually be brought back to what it was, because there was historic fabric there that has been removed, and that the third floor infill be removed, and that the window return to its original size.
Yeah.
What concerns me is the fact that it seems to, I want to make sure that you've resolved the water infiltration problems in this building, with the downspouts, the roofs, and any other sources of moisture, because that is obviously has led to significant spalling of the exterior brick, water infiltration in multiple places. So that's priority one. We really need to figure out a way, and I hope to work with the staff to find an appropriate means to do that. That is of paramount importance. And then, because all of the rest of these things are going to be Band-Aids.
Yeah.
They're just going to need to be replaced. So please consult with the staff about how to fix these problems.
Okay, we will. And we got.
And in fact, I think one of the things that I hope you will take on board and hear is that any changes to the outside of this building, you need to talk to the staff first before you do anything.
Got it.
Okay?
Okay.
Thanks, Emily.
Actually, could you bring up the slide and the supplemental material that shows the bay? So I do have some concerns there. There's
Is it?
the one that's a more of a close-up view of it in the supplemental.
Sure.
This is only 2 stories. It says gable
Yeah, I don't.
barn. Even if a big snowstorm, it's gonna fall off.
I thought that was the only one we had of.
There's a new one in
Yeah,
the
there's a-
supplemental that
Yeah.
actually shows that a lot of the ornament has been removed and that one of the windows looks crooked and in the opening, so.
It looks like there's a board that's just been applied.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Rather
apologize.
haphazardly.
It, the supplemental was not added to.
Yeah.
Because there's been
Yeah,
significant.
we just saw.
dismantling of the bay.
Just went past it.
We just saw the one which is the current picture. Yeah, this
right
one.
there.
Yeah,
This
this
one,
one.
But
That
that's,
stuff fell off.
Yeah, this is new. This is what because
there was a detail that in the supplemental material that shows all the little colonnettes have been removed. The window that's been installed is crooked. So I think you need to work carefully with the staff to appropriately restore the bay window.
okay, I will.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the board has just been sort of,
Yeah.
not even measured, scabbed on there from, in a
I have a
really
question.
haphazard way.
You see, because the wood around the window is rotted, just like a top. From outside see white, but the inside, or green or white, whatever I think it's white before. It's just from outside is deceiving, but inside it's just rotted. That's why to be able to make sure the window can stay in the frame, we have to use some kind of wood to let the window stay. I don't know. I make that clear.
Okay, thanks. Thomas, do you have a question?
Yes, I have a question. Are you doing this work with a licensed contractor or just a handyman?
No license the contract. We have permit.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we have permit. And the guy who did this is I met him a few years ago. Build a lot of apartment in city in he told me 120 apartments building. He's 22 plus years experience. Well, I met him a few years, so right now would be 25 years.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, well, if you have a contractor with 20-some years of experience, it's hard for us to be sympathetic about not obtaining a permit in the guidance of
Understood.
the commission.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd say is that this is a corner building, right? It has a party wall, but the other three elevations are 100% visible from the street. And if we were looking at the rear elevation in the middle of a block, we could be more sympathetic.
Yeah.
But these are all principal facades. So in the past, what we've done in this situation is we've said, look, you do need to go back. I mean, in your, there was a submitted additional material said that you would work with either a preservation architect that you chose or look at recommendations from the historical commission. I think that's great to give you guidance. I mean, when you're talking about the rotted wood, there's epoxy fillers that could restore that without removing it. There's lots of good preservation techniques that a competent preservation contractor with permitting and the guidance of the commission would be very helpful to you. What we've done in other cases like this, where there are a large number of windows, we recognize that's an expense. But we've sometimes, I'm just suggesting what has happened in the past, is said, well, then we'd like to see 6 windows a year replaced. You know, if there's a cash flow issue, you need to get tenants in there, get cash flow, and out of that, then do 6 a year until they're done, something of that nature. But to, in such a visible property where regulations were not followed, where a supposedly highly experienced contractor didn't know to get a permit, it's very hard to be sympathetic to that situation.
Yeah.
But we'll work with you, you know,
But
approach or something like that, I would suggest.
he probably, the historical thing is like recent year, and he did a modern apartment building and built one house for me at 40th Street, Powhatan. And this is just, I think this part he's inexperienced in terms of historical house. And so we learned the lesson, and also we are under tremendous pressure, and we got a violation, means 3 basically, and facades under tremendous pressure. We saw this like before the window, the back window is different. That's rest of window is the window just fall. You can see the picture just the fall because the wood inside the rod, you know, it's just cannot secure the window, just falling apart, you know, like this. And we saw that it's our fault, you know. We saw, okay, we matched the window. Actually, one girl saying historical link to the LI, they know it. If you didn't change the size and just whatever the window is, you match exactly, you should be fine. I guess that's also wrong. And so we did not know. We said, okay, at least I improved the situation before the window is broken. I bought the good quality, the double hung window, which I use my own house, you know, in Berlin. Yeah. And so I thought we should be fine. I didn't know that, and until now.
Okay, Ms. Wang, I think that it seems like our recommendation is that you employ a contractor who is familiar with the historical process and has extensive experience with historic buildings, because we're hitting a lot of roadblocks here. And that being said, we'll turn over to the public for public comment.
We have George Poulin's hand raised.
Go ahead, George.
Good morning. This is George Poulin. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. My name is George. I'm a neighbor at 3502 Hamilton Street. I do want to express my frustration with this conversation for a number of reasons. First of all, as Bob mentioned, this property is highly visible. It's at the gateway to our neighborhood. It's at 34th and Powhatan, right as the majority of Drexel students are entering the neighborhood from campus and vice versa. So, and at the other 3 corners of 34th and property are really significant buildings that you know, this property could also contribute to. So I'm really concerned at the precedent that this is setting for approving these vinyl windows in what amounts to a primary gateway to our neighborhood. Second, I just want to point out that the Civic Association, as soon as the property sold, the Civic Association mailed a letter to the owner and taped a letter to the front door, just as contractors were beginning work, letting them know that all exterior work would need to be approved by the Historical Commission. And after that letter was taped, the windows were removed. So that this happens time and time again. It's very frustrating for those of us in the neighborhood for property
I want to
owners that are.
correct. We
Ms.
didn't
Wang,
remove.
no, Ms. Wang, please let George finish his comment and you'll have a turn to respond. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a property owner who also owns a number of properties in the neighborhood. So this is not necessarily a one-off situation with a small-time investor. So, and lastly, I just want to point out that if you look at this photo, you can see that many of the vinyl windows that have been put in the openings have been made much smaller. You can see on the 3rd floor in the 34th Street elevation, the sills have been raised by what appears to be like a foot. And on the Powelton elevation, the heads have been lowered by several inches. That's very frustrating. And I don't see how the Historical Commission can really approve that. So I just want to express my frustration. The other thing is on the 3rd floor and the 34th Street facade, it was more than just the bay that had the original windows. The 3rd floor windows and the windows to the left of the bay were also original. So I just want to point that out. Yes, there were a number of replacements. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Public comment, please.
No additional hands are raised on Zoom.
Okay, great. Are there any other comments from commissioners at this time? Is there a motion from commissioners at this time?
Dan McCoubry, I will make a motion of denial of work or legalization of work done at 3331 Powelton Avenue.
I second.
Any in opposition? Thank you so much, commissioners.
Can I just
Yeah,
say, please, as I'm going to repeat myself, get in touch with the staff, follow their instructions.
Yeah. Great. Absolutely. So hearing no opposition, that motion is adopted by unanimous consent. Thank you, commissioners. Ms. Wang, I think you have your directive here. Thank you for your time. With that, we will move on to the report on the Committee of Historical Designation. Emily Cooperman is the chair. Our first order of business is 459 Roxborough Avenue, and we'll introduce Dan from the Historic Commission staff to present on this matter.
All right. Could we elevate Reverend Richard Brown to panelist? I think he actually has 2 logins there, so I'm not sure which one should be elevated, but maybe he can indicate that somehow. I will read a brief overview. This nomination proposes to designate the Galilee Baptist Church at 459 Roxborough Avenue as historic and listed on the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places pursuant to Section 14-1004-1 of the Philadelphia Code. The nomination contends that the Galilee Baptist Church satisfies criterion J by exemplifying the cultural, social, and historical heritage of the community. The Galilee Baptist Church has been an important Black community institution in the Roxborough-Manayunk neighborhood for 125 years. The Committee on Historic Designation recommends that the nomination demonstrates that the property at 459 Roxborough Avenue, the Galilee Baptist Church, satisfies criterion for designation J. And as I said, Reverend Brown is here. I do not believe Shemaya Cooper is on the Zoom, but if she is, she should be elevated as well.
Thank you, Dan. We'll hear from the applicant at this time.
Good morning.
Good morning, Reverend. Please go ahead.
Yes. We are, I will try to follow protocol this morning and not take up much of your time. We are simply elated at the opportunity to have the Galilee Baptist Church of the 21st Ward designated as a historical site in the city of Philadelphia, and are very appreciative of all of the work that Dan has done, as well as the committee. And we are certainly in hopes that the commission will see and understand the necessity for this property to be designated as a historical site. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, Reverend. Are there any comments from commissioners at this time?
Just saying that the committee very much appreciated the efforts that Dan made in writing the nomination, and we're very pleased to have the participation of Reverend Brown, and was very enthusiastic about this designating the merits of designating this particular property.
All right. Thank you, Emily. Any other comments from commissioners? Seeing no comments from commissioners, any comments from the public at this time?
No hands are raised on Zoom.
Thank you. Is there a motion for commissioners at this time?
I'm happy to go ahead unless someone else would like.
Please, yeah.
I move that we add 459 Roxborough Avenue, the Galilee Baptist Church, to the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places, as satisfying criterion J.
Second.
Any in opposition? Seeing no opposition, that motion is passed. Thank you very much, commissioners. Thank you to our applicant. Thank you, Dan. Next, we will turn over to Alex Till to present from the historic staff on 132 North 10th Street. Please go ahead, Alex.
Good morning, commissioners. This is Alex Till once again. For this particular nomination this morning, I believe we have the nominator with us, Annie Lang Zhao, in person. We did send out all, required notice for this nomination. We have not ever heard from the owners. However, if there's anybody either in person with us today or on Zoom, they can make themselves known and they can be elevated as well. So this nomination proposes to designate the property at 132 North 10th Street and listed on the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places. The 5-story brick commercial building was constructed circa 1885 by Henry Tetlow as the factory of the Tetlow Manufacturing Company, an early cosmetics manufacturer. The nomination contends that the building satisfies criteria for designation A and D. Henry Tetlow introduced a number of influential changes to the cosmetic industry in the 19th century, including his discovery of the use of zinc oxide as a non-toxic and inexpensive base for face powders. For its association with Tetlow and the history of the cosmetics industry in America, the property satisfies criterion A. In addition, the property satisfies criterion D because it is a remarkably intact example of a late 19th century industrial building that embodies distinguishing characteristics of multiple styles. At their meeting, the Committee on Historic Designation voted to recommend that the nomination demonstrates that the property at 132 North 10th Street satisfies criteria for designation A and D.
Thank you very much. Then we'll turn over to the applicant. Hi, welcome. If you'll please press the button on your microphone and introduce yourself.
Good morning, esteemed members of the Historical Commission. My name is Annie Lang Zhao. I'm a current student at the University of Pennsylvania in the Masters of Science in Historic Preservation. This nomination originally came from a school project, which then when I saw the potential for an actual nomination, I went ahead and worked with some of my professors and just saw how this building is really worthy of nomination for criterions A and D. And then also for the period of significance from 1885, from when Henry Tetlow had built this 5-story building to about 1920 when he had vacated. And as Alex had mentioned, I believe that it's a building that represents a period of significance where that is in alignment with the growth of Philadelphia, with manufacturing, and also the increasing role of women in the workforce, and then also their ability to make purchasing decisions for themselves. So I believe that it has both architectural as well as social significance. And it's an honor to be here. And thank you so much for considering this nomination.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you for putting the nomination together.
Absolutely. You stay if you want. Oh, there might be some questions. Are there any questions, commissioners, at this time? Seeing no questions, are there any any hands raised in the public?
We have one hand raised, David Traub.
Please go ahead, Mr. Traub.
David Traub again, representing Save Our Sites. Save Our Sites wishes to wholeheartedly support the nomination of 132 North 10th Street for designation and inclusion on the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places. The excellent nomination prepared by University of Pennsylvania student Annie Langzo amply shows that the property satisfies criteria A and D. And I just want to point out that this is successful, what will be a successful nomination, proves that a student at one of our preservation departments can write a nomination and succeed with it. In her supporting narrative, Ms. Lang Su shows how Henry Tetlow, in increments, established a sizable and important Philadelphia industry, that's criteria A, and went on to build a remarkable example of architecture mirroring his business success, criteria D. The narrative is filled with an abundance of informative and illustrative detail showing that Ms. Langzo undertook much painstaking research in preparing her nomination. Of note is that Ms. Langzo points out that the corner segment of the building is skillfully articulated from the overall body of the structure so as to read as a tower anchoring the corner of 10th and Cherry Streets. This tower serves today as a feature providing dignity and drama to the Chinatown neighborhood townscape. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Traub. Any other comments from the public?
No additional hands are raised on Zoom.
Great, thank you. Seeing no other comments, is there a motion from commissioners at this time?
I can go ahead again.
Please go ahead.
And I just wanted to add quickly that the committee was very enthusiastic and very much appreciated all of the authors' efforts and thought it was a very well done nomination. I would move that we add the 132 North 10th Street, the Tetlow Manufacturing Company, to the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places as satisfying criteria for designation A and D.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are any in opposition at this time? Seeing no opposition, that motion is adopted by unanimous consent. Thank you very much, commissioners. And thank you very much to our applicant. Very nice work. We appreciate it. Thank you. Great. Okay, great. Before we move on to our next order of business, seeing that we've been here for about an hour, would commissioners benefit from a 5-minute break? Great. All right, we'll resume at 10:15. Thank you. Great. Welcome back, everybody. We will turn it over to our next item on the agenda, which is 5604 North 5th Street, and Ted from the Historic Commission staff to present on this. Go ahead, Ted.
Thank you. Hello again. The nominator of this particular property is the Preservation Alliance for Greater Philadelphia. So if they would like to speak, they can either come to the mic. And the property owner, we have not heard any communication from the property owner. If they are in the room or on Zoom, they can make themselves known to have some time to speak as well. And I will read a brief overview. This nomination proposes to designate the property at 5604 North 5th Street, historically known as the National Bank of Olney, and list it on the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places. The 2-story Art Deco style cast stone bank building was constructed in 1927 and 1928. The nomination contends that the property meets criteria for designation C and D, that it reflects the environment in an era characterized by distinctive architectural style and embodies distinguishing characteristics of that style. The nomination claims that the bank represents the shifting trends of the design of neighborhood banks away from classical models towards a more modern form known as the Art Deco style, during the late 1920s. The nomination further argues that the building is eligible under criterion for designation E as the work of an architectural firm whose designs have significantly influenced the development of the city, state, or nation, owing to the national prominence of the architects, Simons, Britton, and English as specialists in designing banks, especially for small or medium-sized towns. The Committee on Historic Designation voted to recommend that the nomination demonstrates that the property at 5604 North Fifth Street satisfies criteria for designation C, D, and E.
Thank you, Ted. Is the applicant available to present? Go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. Paul Steinke, representing the Preservation Alliance for Greater Philadelphia. We commissioned this nomination from Kevin McMahon, who did the research and the writing, as he has done for us on several other occasions. I think to us, this nomination was an education and a revelation about this sort of almost hidden gem on North Fifth Street in the middle of the Alney Business District. In that it was designed by a firm that we were not familiar with, but have learned a lot about through the nomination, Simons, Brittons, and English, which designed at least 40 banks across 8 different states, including Pennsylvania. This was one of his few, if not only one, in the city of Philadelphia, and it has survived to this day. It is in the Art Deco style. In an industry that built a lot of classical revival bank buildings. So this is really interesting, as was said, as a representative of a transition away from classical into Art Deco. So hopefully you all had a chance to review the nomination, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Paul. Let's see, we will see if there's any comments from commissioners at this time.
I'll just say that the committee was generally very laudatory and thought it was an extremely well-done nomination. And we also were very pleased and also surprised to have the opportunity to learn about the firm, about which we did not know. But we thought that the argument for significance associated with that firm was extremely well documented and argued.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a question. The description says cast stone. Is that correct? It's not.
It's our understanding that it is a cast stone material, yes.
Interesting. For that date.
Seems kind of early for that, right?
I'll share as the CDC for Alney. I'm excited to see this because I know currently in this property, it is used as an illegal Airbnb. And so
Oh my
I
goodness.
wanted this to be designated for quite some time. I'm excited to see this nomination. If possible in the future, as the CDC, I would love to just be informed, our organization to be informed about the nominations happening on our commercial corridor and in our community, but this is really exciting. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from commissioners at this time? Any comments from the public at this time?
We have David Traub.
Go ahead, Mr. Traub.
David Traub, Save Our Sites wishes to thank the Alliance and Paul Steinke for nominating this incredible building. I can't help but making one comment. I wasn't going to say too much, but I absolutely love this rendering, and I want to point out that the architect very, very successfully shows the context of the building in which it was inserted. The 2 buildings to either side. And the rendering has great charm, but it provides a lot of very important information. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other hands raised in the public?
No additional hands are raised on Zoom.
Great. Thank you. Is there a motion from commissioners at this time?
I'm happy to go ahead.
Please.
Unless maybe Stephanie Michelle would like to go. I don't. But I'm happy to do it if you like.
I'll second it for you.
Okay. I move that we add 5604 North Fifth Street, the National Bank of Alney, to the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places as satisfying criteria for designation C, D, and E.
I second.
Any commissioners opposed at this time? Seeing no opposition, that motion is adopted by unanimous consent. Thank you very much, commissioners. Thank you, Ted, and thank you to our applicant. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And in closing, I will just point out that in Philadelphia, just like Acme, Alany is a 3-syllable word.
Thank you. All right, moving on to our last order of business on the report of the Committee on Historical Designation is 4889 Umbria Street, and we'll turn over to Dr. John Farnham to present.
Thank you, and good morning again. Before I read a brief overview, if we could elevate a handful of people. I'm making some assumptions about this, but well, they are raising their hands now. That I believe is the people associated with the nominating team, and then representing the property owner, I believe Catherine Missimer is here today representing or the equitable owner. If
Michael
she'd like to
Phillips.
be.
It'll be me, John, instead of Kate.
Oh, okay. Thanks. I didn't see you, Michael. So sounds like Michael's already elevated. All right. Let me begin with the overview then. This nomination proposes to designate a portion of the property at 4889 Umbria Street in Roxborough and listed on the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places. Buildings associated with the former Manayunk Plush Manufacturing Company stand on the site, and there you see the two proposed for designation on the screen. The nomination proposes designating those two older buildings along Umbria Street, the larger one-story manufacturing building and the smaller power plant, both of which were constructed in 1926 and 1927. The nomination excludes from its boundary the newer buildings along Lamont Street and the newer beer distributorship building and vacant land along Parker Avenue. So the boundary does not propose to include the entire parcel, but a portion of the parcel. The nomination contends that the older Manayunk Plush Manufacturing Company buildings are significant under criterion J for their role in Manayunk's textile industry. The nomination claims that the buildings are significant under criterion E for their association with architect and engineer William Dyer. And finally, the nomination asserts that the complex of buildings satisfies criterion H because it is a long established and familiar visual feature of the neighborhood. The property is in the process of being redeveloped, and the equitable owners, through their attorney, Michael Phillips, have submitted a letter stating that they would not oppose the designation of the two buildings if the boundary was slightly amended to exclude a small amount of open space at the rears of the buildings. I'll let Mr. Phillips address that further. The Committee on Historic Designation reviewed the nomination and voted unanimously 4-0 with one abstention to recommend that the property at 4889 Umbria Street satisfies criteria for designation E, H, and J, and to express no objection to amending the boundary of the designation to include the buildings only with no open land as requested by the property owner. So you have several people associated with the nomination who you can hear from first, and then a representative of the property owner. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We'll hear from the applicant now.
Thank you. Good morning, commissioners. My name is Cheryl Feldman, and I'm Vice President of Ridge Park Civic Association and head of our Preservation Committee. Thank you for considering this nomination. It's the culmination of 4 years of discussion and planning by our Civic Association in furthering our goal to preserve Roxborough Manayunk's industrial past. I want to thank Oscar Beiser, who prepared the nomination. We are pleased that based on its deliberations, the Committee on Historic Designation included criteria J, H, and E. We're also pleased that the property owner is not opposed to the designation of the industrial building and the power plant, provided that there are no setbacks beyond the building footprint. And R, Civic is in support of amending the nomination to only include the buildings and remove the rear buffer included in the original nomination. The Plush Factory is truly an anchor on Umbria Street, linking the row house neighborhood that exists there to the east with the industrial corridor, which sits along the Manioc Canal. It remains one of the few, if not the only remaining historic building located in this particular corridor west of Manioc proper. Area residents and businesses are all aware of this factory. It has a very familiar look, the red brick facade, the distinct terracotta sign that doesn't really show up there, but I think there's a closer view of it, and the horizontal length of the building emphasized by the building's prominence on an incline of this very major street, Umbria Street. The Plush Factory, because of its industrial signage, its design, its prominence on the street, is a very distinctive visual feature to all the residents, businesses, and anybody driving down Umbria Street. It's a real significant representation as well of our industrial past in Manioc, linking the textile industry from the prior time east of this to a later time in history when it was really the end of textile production in Manioc, and was a workplace where people worked until the 1970s. Today, newer residents look to its familiar presence as a welcoming sign. You can see it as you climb up and down the steps of the regional rail line. You can see it when you drive by. In short, it's a visual reminder of the significant industrial history of Roxborough, Manioc, that as long-term neighbors we're very proud of, and as new neighbors, people are very interested in learning about. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments from commissioners at this time? Nope, go ahead, Bob.
I think the plan to not require the line of our designation ends at the rear of the building, I think is very appropriate. It's also important that, that this building, have economic viability, and being literally right on the Ivy Ridge train station, encouraging the construction behind is a way to see that, this building, the historic building, remains.
Thank you. Go ahead, Michael.
Okay. Good morning, Commissioners. Michael Phillips with Claire Harrison on behalf of the Equitable Owners. I just want to, at the outset, state that my clients are really excited about their development, and they love these buildings, and they always intended on preserving these buildings, and they are very excited to continue breathing new life into this property and bringing these buildings back to their former glory. They are well along in the development process. A conditional zoning permit was pulled in August before this nomination was accepted by the commission. Went through civic design review, have worked closely with the community, and look forward to continuing working with the community. A main zoning permit was just pulled at the end of May for 363 units, all behind the existing buildings that you see now. And they will continue to adaptively reuse and look forward to this project. As we've stated, we do oppose the extended boundary as it would disrupt the development plans. There's some loading zones back there. There were some other, I believe, electrical stations that were going to be moved. And so by maintaining just the yellow line that you see in front of you, we'll be able to file the building permit application that we intend to do next week and continue on with the development while ensuring that these two buildings that my client has always intended to preserve will be faithfully preserved and reused. So we thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Michael. Are there any comments from the public at this time?
Presumably the yellow line runs on the outside of the facade of the building.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I can just add that the
Go ahead.
committee felt because that it was very common for industrial complexes to expand and change over time, that the boundary as it's now proposed was very appropriate. And it's a very different situation from an individual residential building on a large lot or an institutional building that has historically had a kind of breathing space that's not, they're not in the same kind of situation with this industrial building.
Understood. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point. When I read the minutes of the designation committee, I thought that was a very good explanation why to take this approach. And also that it's in the record that, you know, the precedent that it sets is not doesn't contradict other things that we will hear about. Thank you.
Because it's dependent on the historic character of the actual building that we're talking about, the property.
Thanks. Any other comments from the public at this time?
So we do have, we have a couple hands raised from individuals associated with the nomination team. And then there's a few hands raised for just the general public. Would you like to start with the nomination?
Yes.
Okay. Tony, if we could unmute Marlene Schleifer. Actually, Marlene, you're already promoted, so you can just unmute yourself.
Okay. Thank you and good morning to all of you. I just want to thank the commission for considering this. Everything Cheryl said is absolutely true. I live within a stone's throw of this complex and have walked past it for 35 years on my way to the train. It's unusual, but it's very special and it's a landmark in our neighborhood, and we definitely want to see it preserved and are delighted that the development team is standing firmly behind this. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll move to general public comment. Krista Gebbia from the Chestnut Hill Conservancy.
Go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Krista Gebbia. I'm the Director of Stewardship for the Chestnut Hill Conservancy. The Conservancy supports the nomination of the Manayunk Plush Manufacturing Company Industrial Building and Powerhouse, prepared by the Ridge Park Civic Association. We urge the Commission to vote in favor of designation. We support and commend the Ridge Park Civic Association, our Northwest neighbor, for their multi-year diligence to plan for the preservation of Roxborough Manayunk's industrial past. This property is a rare surviving example of local industrial history and represents a significant part of Manayunk's manufacturing legacy, including its key role in the production of textiles. In addition, the red brick facade, distinctive terracotta sign, and horizontal weight of the complex are distinct visual features of the neighborhood. And we urge the Commission to vote in favor of the designation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next is Sarah Stroman.
Go ahead, Ms. Drummond.
Hello, good morning. So I live up the hill from the Plush building, and I just wanted to say that I support and am strongly in favor of this nomination. It's really important to me as a Manayunk resident of 20 years to preserve the history of Manayunk. We take SEPTA into the city a lot. We walk by, we see this building, we often find ourselves talking about it, we marvel at it, and we end up talking about the history of Manayunk. So it's really important to me. I love throughout the neighborhood that we see like little nuggets of signage of days of yore. So that's one of the things that really drew me to this neighborhood. And I love the fact that in our neighborhood, we're seeing that many of the mills are often repurposed while keeping their original architecture intact. And one of the big concerns I have about my neighborhood in particular is we're seeing that a lot of our historical buildings are being demolished and replaced with these big, ginormous gray boxes that really chip away at the color, the warmth, the charm of our neighborhood. So I'm super excited to hear that this developer wants to keep that character and finds that important as well. So I ask you to vote in favor of this nomination. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other hands raised on Zoom?
Next, we have Stephen Peitzman.
Go ahead, Mr. Pipe.
Thank you. I think this is an excellent addition to the register, and it seems there would be no good reason to not approve it. It's interesting to me that this was built, or the company got underway around 1927, was it? Exactly the same time that the Dobson Mills, farther to the east of Manayunk in Falls of Schuylkill or East Falls, that was just the time when they closed as one of the major plush manufacturers within Philadelphia's massive, although declining, textile industry. And I have to admit, I haven't read the full nomination yet, but I will for this building to see if there's clues as to what the business people had in mind by starting such a company, finding good land to expand just when others were giving up, although there very often, of course, special circumstances at one place or another. Anyway, thank you to the nominators and to the owners for their commitment to reusing the building on Umbria, which is an unusual but a handsome addition to that street and the approach to the train station, as was mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other hands raised on Zoom?
No additional hands on Zoom. I just wanted to check the room to see. Okay, yes, we
Go
do
ahead.
have some comment from the room.
Hi,
Morning, everyone.
thank you. If you could please press the button on the microphone, speak into it, and introduce yourself, please.
Good morning, everyone.
Thank you. Good
My
morning.
name is Barbara Hookia. I'm the recording secretary for Ridge Park Civic, but I'm speaking now as a neighbor in support of Criterion H. I live at Ogle and Lamont, which is a short but steep block from the Plush Building. From my front door, I see the Plush Building with its long, sturdy profile along Umbria. It marks the transition between our row houses to the east and the industrial corridor to the west. I wholeheartedly support the nomination. I moved to Manayunk 35 years ago. At that time, I took the Plush Building more for granted. It was just there, the way buildings can be when they are already just there. Old factory buildings were along the canal and seemingly all around. The story of work was everywhere. And the Plush Building is nothing if not about work. Its mysterious and luxurious sign, Plush, drew me into learning about textile manufacturing here in Manayunk from before the Civil War to the era of velveteen upholstery in the early 1900s. My neighbor tells me that in the years after World War II, his mother and other women on our block worked down at Plush for a small item manufacturer. And at the time I moved in the 90s, this building housed Don's Salads, and now it's a wood shop where my friends and neighbors make beautiful, useful things. As I pass this building on my way to the train, in my own working years at Drexel or now on other journeys, the Plush Building always stands as a reminder of that Manayunk story, the story of manufacturing work. In recent years, as more and more of that story is erased, I understand how fragile the thread to our history is. I urge you to designate the Plush Building as historic, and I urge the new owners to continue to cherish its legacy. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments in the room? Please, go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Arielle Harris. I'm an architectural historian and a board member of Repoint Philadelphia, which is a grassroots historic preservation nonprofit in the city. I just want to comment in support of not only the nomination, but also the compromise that the development community has reached with the Civic Association. We love to see nominations that are submitted with full support of civic associations, and a boundary change like this, I think, is a testament to the types of compromises and negotiations that we make with redevelopment projects like this. It's part of your discretion to change boundaries, and I think this is a completely appropriate a reason to do so. So thank you for doing so. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments in the room? Great. Seeing no comments in the room.
Chair Frankel, I'm
yeah.
sorry. We do have one additional hand raised from Tina Krovitz.
Go ahead.
Tina, you need to unmute from your end.
Okay, now I'm here.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. I just am here as a neighbor, a longtime Manayunk resident, member of the Civic Association, and have been involved with some of the historic research about other buildings and the Plush building. I've also been a student at their wood shop and had great experiences there. It's an iconic building for our neighborhood and a landmark that I would dearly like to see preserved. And so I hope that you will support the nomination of this building as historic. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other comments from the public at this time?
No additional hands are raised on Zoom.
All right, great. Seeing no other comments, is there a motion from commissioners at this time?
I can go ahead.
Please.
I move that we add 4889 Umbria Street, the Manayunk Plush Manufacturing Company, to the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places as satisfying criteria for designation E, H, and J with the revised boundary as currently presented.
I'll second.
Any commissioners in opposition at this time? Great. Seeing no opposition, that motion is adopted by unanimous consent. Thank you very much, commissioners. We will now move on to old business and our only matter, which is 428-34 North 4th Street, and we will call upon Alex Hill from the Historic Commission staff to present.
No.
Good morning, everybody. This is Alex Till from the staff once again. So we have both the nominator, Misha Wiley, here in person today, and Michael Phillips, attorney representing the ownership. And I see both of them are already at the table, so we should be set to go. I will read a brief overview. So this nomination proposes to designate the property at 428-34 North 4th Street and listed on the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places. The two-story commercial building was constructed in 1966-67 to serve as a union hall for the National Marine Engineers Beneficial Association, which owned the property until 1990. The nomination contends that the building satisfies criteria for designation C, D, and J. The former Union Hall was constructed amid widespread demolition of the surrounding neighborhood as part of the Callow Hill East redevelopment project, and thus the nomination argues that it exemplifies the economic and political heritage of the community in the era of urban renewal, meeting criterion J. Addressing criterion D, the nomination cites the post-war turn to modern architecture in the United States and contends that the building reflects the built environment of that era. Finally, the nomination cites the criterion C and describes the subject property as embodying the distinguishing characteristics of the architectural style of New Formalism. The Committee on Historic Designation reviewed this nomination in May of 2025, and at that meeting, they voted to recommend that the property at 428-34 North 4th Street satisfies criteria for designation C, D, and J.
Great. Thank you very much, Alex. We'll hear from the applicant.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Misha Wiley. I'm a conservation technician with HCC and a candidate in Penn's Masters of Science Historic Preservation program. And Thank you, Alex, for the summary. I guess a few things that I'd just like to add to that is that I had the support of DACA-MOMO as well as the support of Preservation Alliance on nominating this property, and chose it among a list of recommended properties for writing a nomination because I thought it did stand out to me in Philadelphia's built environment, having a unique character. It also is a special moment where a union hall appropriated a style of architecture, a municipal style of architectural, and adapted it to their scale. So it's not very often that you see something that the new formalist style was about, creating something that looked like a sculpture, a monument on a pedestal, and seeing it on such an approachable two-story scale, I think is special, and I haven't seen anything else like this in Philadelphia. The other thing that I wanted to address was, thank you for your response and the thoughtfulness of it. And I think that there's potential to think in a more nuanced way and a creative way about the development potential of this site. I think that it has the potential. I'm glad it followed the Plush building because, it's a union hall and it's more in relationship with industrial architecture and has I think the potential for the back building to be non-contributing, which, leaves quite a bit of space on the site, I think for creative use. I think it has the potential to be adapted to meet public needs while also protecting the character that I think connects us with a moment in our history that's a significant one for Philadelphia. The other thing that I noticed was that there isn't anything designated on Willow Street. That's something to consider. And then as far as the development of the site, I would be happy to work on a National Register nomination to be able to make tax credits an option for, an adaptive reuse of the site. So that's what I have to share. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Michael Phillips, speak on behalf of the property owner.
Good morning, members of the commission. Michael Phillips, Claire Harrison on behalf of the property owner. I do have a number of witnesses with me here today to speak to our opposition to this nomination, including the property owner, Mark Rubin, broker Anthony Falcone, Stuart Rosenberg, architect, and Veteran Weiser with Heritage Foundation, Heritage Group here, all to speak. I would ask that the normal rules providing only 5 minutes be suspended to allow us a full and robust opportunity to respond to this nomination, as the public interest that is implicated here is quite significant. This is not development in a vacuum. We are not talking about some ability of a new unknown owner to come in and reuse this. This is a very real decision to make between the preservation and protection of what the testimony will show is a marginal building of limited architectural significance with only a small 4,000 square foot footprint versus the real very public interest implicated by its designation in the expansion of Gift of Life's property, program, and services. Now, this is unique because Gift of Life is the directly abutting neighbor at 401 Callow Hill, where they have Howie's House. And I would like to just begin by briefly and quickly reading into the record the letter that Gift of Life's Howie's House did send to the commission on December 8th, 2025, so that you can fully understand the agreement of sale and what is implicated in your decision. The letter says, "Dear Chairman Franco, my name is Richard Haas, and I am the president and CEO of Gift of Life Howie's House. We are a 501c3 nonprofit charitable organization located at 401 Callow Hill Street. For close to 15 years, Gift of Life Howie's House has served as a home away from home for transplant patients and their families by providing temporary affordable lodging and supportive services to those traveling to Philadelphia for organ transplant-related care. The House, along with Gift of Life Transplant Foundation, are nonprofit affiliates of Gift of Life Donor Program, also a Philadelphia-based 501c3 nonprofit that operates as one of the most active organ procurement organizations in the United States. Gift of Life Donor Program serves more than 11.3 million people across the eastern half of Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, and Delaware, and serves as a critical link between individuals and families who make the generous and life-saving decision to donate organs and tissues in those that need an organ or tissue transplant. Gift of Life Donor Program has coordinated more donors and organs for transplant than any other organ procurement organization in the country since the inception of the national system. Since 1974, Gift of Life Donor Program has coordinated more than 63,000 organs for transplantation and more than 2 million life-enhancing tissue transplants. On behalf of Gift of Life, I am writing to request that the proposed historic designation of the property located at 428 to 34 North 4th Street, the Rubin property, be denied. Gift of Life Howie's House is the adjacent property to the immediate south of the Rubin property. Gift of Life Howie's House opened its doors in 2011 and currently provides temporary lodging within its 32 family guest rooms. In addition to a place to stay, through the efforts of its committed staff and hundreds of dedicated volunteers, the house provides home-cooked meals in its large communal kitchen, a fully stocked pantry, an indoor family room, dedicated fitness room, laundry facility, shuttle transportation to and from area hospitals, and on-site social workers to assist families during their transplant journey. The house is a place for families undergoing similar experiences to have essential overnight lodging and supportive services and share time together while their loved ones await, undergo, or recover from life-saving organ transplant surgery. Since 2011, the house has provided over $16.7 million in subsidized services to transplant patients and their families. There is no other independent transplant-focused hospitality house in the United States serving the number of transplant centers and providing the range of services that are offered at the house. Families staying at the house have traveled from all over the region, country, and internationally, and have a family member being treated at one of the Philadelphia area transplant centers: Hospital, University of Pennsylvania, CHOP, Temple University Health, Thomas Jefferson University Hospital, St. Christopher's Hospital for Children, and Einstein Medical Center, Philadelphia. Without the house, many families would simply not be able to access the care necessary to save their loved ones' lives. Since opening, more than 113,000 nights of lodging have been provided for families in need. In addition, Gift of Life Howie's House has on-site social workers to provide critical navigational support and information for families going through the transplant process, a team that works in collaboration with and the transplant social worker teams to provide resources to families at the house and support those transitioning home. And now this is the important part. In recent years, demand for house services increased dramatically. The house has been at capacity on more than 280 occasions over the past 24 months and has not been able to accommodate all of the families needing services on site. In light of this increased demand, as well as our continued evaluation of program and service expansion in support of the community, Gift of Life has recently entered into an agreement of sale to purchase the Rubin property from its current owner, Mark Rubin. Due to its direct proximity, the Rubin property is uniquely situated to support the future growth and development of Gift of Life's Howie's House and its affiliates and advance the organization's ability to serve families coming to this region for their transplant care. However, historic designation would preclude such an opportunity given the associated limitations on development. On behalf of Gift of Life Howie's House, I therefore respectfully request that the Historical Commission recognize the prevailing public interest and public benefits to be gained through Gift of Life's acquisition and redevelopment of the Rubin property and deny the proposed historic designation. Thank you for your consideration. One more paragraph, because Mr. Haas found it important enough that on May 29th, he sent a supplemental letter reattaching his December letter, and states, Chairman Frankel, on behalf of Gift of Life's Howie's House, I write to supplement my letter dated December 8th regarding the property at 428 to 34 North 4th Street. As discussed at length in my prior letter, Gift of Life's Howie's House has been operating at or near capacity for several years. Because of our commitment not to turn away families in need of support, due to full occupancy, our organization has subsidized 808 nights of external lodging at area hotels since the start of 2025. This includes 83 hotel nights so far this month, which is May 2026. Due to its proximity, the Rubin property is uniquely situated to support future growth and development of Gift of Life's Howie's House and its affiliates to advance the organization's ability to serve families seeking transplant care in Philadelphia. As previously stated, historic designation would limit any such development. I therefore respectfully request that the Historical Commission recognize the prevailing public interest and public benefits to be gained through Gift of Life's acquisition and development of the Rubin property and deny the proposed historic designation. Thank you for your consideration. So I say all that as the backdrop of what we are up against, and that is the expansion of Gift of Life's facilities and the unique opportunity faced, seeing as they are directly abutting Mr. Rubin's property. Now, as Mr. Rubin will come up and testify, that agreement is contingent on this proceeding here in the property not being designated historic. Just as an aside, procedurally, I just want to grab a chair for witnesses. Mr. Rubin has a prepared speech he will give, but in case there are any questions, I'd like to call him first.
Thank you. Michael, what's the timing of acquisition and timing of development? Just curious.
Sure. And I apologize, the agreement of sale is under a confidentiality agreement. We are allowed to speak to it, but I believe Mark can speak to how quickly closing would be after the contingency period provides. Gift of Life has still look at its programmatic possibilities, but I think it is looking to move pretty quickly because it's at capacity, but I'll let Mark speak to that.
Got it. Thank you.
Closing would be, just to answer your question, the closing would be almost immediately after they were allowed to purchase the property. They've got several years, obviously, of planning, zoning, all of that to go through to get the job complete. So I would imagine construction probably wouldn't begin for a year or two.
Got it. Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Rubin.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Rubin. I am the president owner of 430 North 4th Street. I have been in the real estate development business, developing properties in the Calla District, Spring Garden area, Northern Liberties, Girard Avenue corridor, West Philadelphia, as well as Southern New Jersey, now in town, for 45 years. I have primarily worked to revitalize depressed properties and bring them, and with that, the surrounding neighborhoods back to life. I am no stranger to saving historic properties. My father and I personally stopped the wrecking ball from destroying the Frank Furness Bank building at 6th and Spring Garden in 1984. The building had already been hit by the wrecking ball, as seen by the repaired western wall. Today, that wall has a mural from the Philadelphia Mural Arts Program, which we commissioned to cover up the visual damage. The building is also presently on the Philadelphia Historic Register and thus preserved from future harassment or destruction. I restored the building back to its former glory, carefully using costly and extensive period-style rehabilitation techniques inside and out. These included the ceilings, railings, safes, window bars, lights, terrazzo floors. The HVAC was carefully concealed to appear period correct. Many ceiling and wall details were commissioned to be made with plaster and had to be handmade. My firm used the upper floors as our office headquarters, while Stephen Starr moved in and opened his very first restaurant and club called The Bank, bringing much needed life to the Spring Garden Street area. After several years of operation, Mr. Starr asked me to lease the entire building as he wanted to expand the club. I then purchased 430 North 4th Street from PNC Bank for the unpaid balance of the mortgage from the failing Airline Traffic Controllers Union, who in turn had purchased it from the failing Merchant Seamen's Union. PNC knew that they could not market the property without demolishing the building, as it had a very restricted layout. It had no handicap accessibility inside, nor had it any elevators. PNC is not in the real estate development business. This is why they never tried to market the property and why the price was way below market. I basically took it off their hands. At the time, it suited me as a small office for my operations. I moved my offices in 1993 from Spring Garden Street to 430 North 4th. The 430 North 4th Street building was extensively modified, both inside and out, to suit my office needs. Today, the building remains handicap inaccessible both inside and out. There is no elevator to the second floor, nor handicap ramps, nor handicap restrooms. There is no sprinkler system, and all the mechanicals are at least 35 to 40 years old. Renovations to this building to bring it into compliance for public use would cost millions. Over the past 18 months, I have received no less than 6 offers to purchase the 430 North 4th Street property. Every offer required demolition of the building. In April of 2025, I received a letter stating that my property was being considered for historic designation. Imagine my surprise when it was explained to me that I no longer had control of my own property. The fact that my building, which has no historical significance and was designed by an insignificant and non-prolific architect whose plans were purchased by the merchant Siemens Human at a great discount because he was insignificant, was considered for historical designation was beyond my understanding. I was told that I had to maintain and pay real estate taxes on a building that I could not sell in Philadelphia virtually forever. If designated, the property will eventually be abandoned because it can't be sold nor leased and will be doomed to be surrounded by a chain link fence, a security fence, so as not to become an attractive nuisance to the neighborhood children. In September, I was approached by our good neighbor, the Gift of Life. In the past, they had expressed interest in expanding their facility at some future time. We had a gentleman's agreement that we would consider accommodating their needs in the future when that time came. This time they came to me and explained their desperation to expand their facilities. The time had come. They were completely out of room. They needed the 430 North 4th Street property for their expansion. There were simply no other viable alternatives. Without this expansion, they will need to relocate outside the city of Philadelphia at great expense. I am familiar with the Gift of Life's mission. Last year, while awaiting my turn to present my case in this very commission room on August 7th, 2025, a date I will never forget, my best friend and neighbor committed suicide. I had to excuse myself from the hearing and rush home. No one to this day knows his motive. His suicide will haunt me forever. Ironically, today is his birthday. His wife and family donated all his organs, his eyes and his skin to the Gift of Life. As is the Gift of Life's mission, all of those things were used to save the lives of many others. A heart transplant, an eye replacement, organ transplant, as well as several burn victim skin grafts. Shortly thereafter, Gift of Life and I entered into a sale agreement for the purchase of the 430 North 4th Street property for the development and expansion of their present operations. All of this with the caveat that the property was available and free from a historic designation. So here we are today. You, the committee, are tasked with making a decision. This is not a decision on whether to designate a historically and aesthetically insignificant building, nor is it about real estate deals. Your decision today is about what is the right thing to do. Your decision is whether to choose to preserve an insignificant building or grant life to countless others. I am told the Gift of Life's expansion will save or change 450 plus lives a year through surgeries performed in Philadelphia city hospitals. We are talking about children who will now grow up with a father or mother who would have died but for your decision. We are talking about horribly burned adults and children that will live to lead normal lives because of skin grafts. People who are blind will see again. All this because of the selfless sacrifice that others have made before you. Will you make this sacrifice today? Will you sacrifice brick and mortar to give life to others? Which serves the public good better? Your choice is simple, life or death. You choose the Gift of Life for men, women, and children. That right decision would be your gift to the people of Philadelphia. I sincerely hope you choose the right thing to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any comments from commissioners at this time? Right. Seeing no comments from commissioners, are there any comments from the public at this time?
Well, I still have other witnesses. as
Oh,
well.
you do?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
By all means.
I will be very quick. Mark, I only have a few questions for you as this photo's up. Can you just explain for the commission some of the changes that you made to the property in 1990 when you and your father purchased it?
Well, we added all the planters. The glass block was not there. We added that in to give light around the building. Also all the way around the side. We added a couple of bathrooms. On the inside, we had to add some emergency exit doors on the side. And we had to remove some old kitchens and stuff like items similar to that. We had to replace the capping around the top of the building. So essentially, a lot of it was redone. There was no glass block in the front in the beginning. That was done for security reasons.
And the certificate of occupancy you have for the building, is it fair to say that it's really just for the first floor and the second is just used for storage right now?
That is correct.
Um,
And there is no access to the second floor except for a staircase.
I don't have any further questions for Mr. Rubin. I would call my next witness unless the commission has any questions for him. My next witness would be Tony Falcone.
Sure thing. Go ahead, Mr. Falcone. You introduce yourself.
Hi, Anthony Falcone, MS Fox Real Estate Group, commercial real estate broker.
Go ahead.
Falcone, are you familiar with the property?
Of course.
Okay. And you're familiar with Mr. Rubin?
Yep.
Okay.
Been working with him for 25 years or in and about.
Outside of Mark Rubin, how marketable is this building to a prospective purchaser or a tenant in today's market?
There's really no demand for a building like this. It's a market that's changed. That particular marketplace is really a ground-driven marketplace right now. The office market has diminished since COVID and has not returned.
And based on your review, you submitted a letter to the commission that states that a reasonable rental rate that this could command would be about $18.50 a square foot.
Correct.
And you also associated operating expenses in the range of $12 to $14 a square foot.
That's correct. That was in addition to that. That's really a triple net number.
And would there be improvement costs necessary to required to secure any tenant?
Of course, the building's a single-story building realistically with a second floor. It's at grade, so if anybody needed to have handicap bathrooms built or a handicap bathroom, they'd have to core drill into concrete. There's 15 inches to get into the building. It's 2 steps. You'd have to have a handicap ramp that was 15 foot with a turn in it in order to get in the building. There's no sprinkler system. The mechanical systems are 30-something years old, well beyond their estimated life. So it's a total gut rehab.
And what's the footprint of the building?
The footprint of the building is 3640 square feet. The interior of the building is 75 feet by 29 feet, which in my mind doesn't work at all for a union hall. I don't understand how it ever did. And it goes out as a T a little bit, so there's an area that's a little larger, but that's really just a stairwell to the second floor.
And in your opinion, looking at the property as a whole, I mean, where does the value in this property lie for this real estate?
That's totally the ground, as it is with every other property that's in the marketplace there. If you look just beyond the building to the left, that's a brand new building.
And the building directly in front, the red brick building.
That's Howard's house.
That's Gift of Life, Highway
Correct.
House, just so the commission can
Yep.
orient itself. I do not have any other questions. I'm trying to keep this moving along for Mr. Falcone. So unless
Thank you.
any of the commissioners have questions.
Any questions, commissioners? Go ahead. No, thank you, Mr. Falcone.
Thank you.
I'll call up Stuart Rosenberg.
Go ahead, Stuart.
Stuart, can you state your name?
Stuart Rosenberg, Principal, SGRA Architects.
Same few introductory questions. Are you familiar with the site?
Yes, I am.
And can you just briefly describe the site and its physical characteristics from an architectural, planning standpoint?
The site's located at 4th and Willow. As you know, it's approximately 10,519 square feet in area, 2-story building, approximately 3,700 square feet. The zoning classification for this site is CMX3, which is a community commercial mixed-use zoning district.
And it's also located in the East Callow Hill overlay, is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, did you prepare any conceptual architectural studies or renderings related to the site?
I did.
And you did that on behalf of the owner?
Correct.
And what was the purpose of those renderings? If we could just ask, yeah.
Yeah, I'll try to. You looking at these or the actual renders a little later?
We can start here.
Okay.
the focus of my work is really to evaluate what the potential development site could be based upon a by right design within these within the zoning district and the overlay district.
And we can keep going to the next one too. All right, now, in preparing your conceptualize, did you evaluate how the site might function if it were redeveloped comprehensively?
We did, yes.
And what, sort of amenities or uses could potentially be incorporated into such a redevelopment?
Well, in CMX 3, there's a very wide array of permitted uses, including multifamily, medical, child services, businesses, hotels, visitor accommodations, very, very wide potential use groups. Could be located here by right.
Just flip to the next. Is this a rendering that you prepared from the looking from the rear of the building?
Yes, it is.
And why did you include such, those sort of open area features such as children's play area? Like, what would this function as in your mind?
Well, the city, and this specifically is part of the city, is in desperate need of some green space. And so there is a zoning requirement that only 80% of the lot area can be used for buildings. So the remaining 20% would be utilized for open green space. And this space that we're showing is located on Willow Street, which would be more protected from the 4th Street, which is a much more heavily vehicular artery.
And isn't it also accurate to say that in the East Callow Hill overlay, there's actually a prohibition against having parking lots that are in between the street and the building frontage?
That is correct. In the Callow Hill overlay, parking lots cannot be along street frontages.
And there's also a minimum height in the Callow Hill overlay too, right?
That's right. In Callow Hill overlay, the minimum height is 25 feet and the maximum height is up to 100 feet.
Now, did you consider any scenarios in which the existing building could be retained and incorporated into a future development?
We did.
And from an architectural perspective, what challenges arise when attempting to incorporate such a building into a new project?
Well, the geometry of the site itself is highly irregular. The building is, as you saw earlier in the plans, occupies the central portion of the site. 2 or 3 sections of the building actually make contact with the property lines. The remaining open space is sort of irregular and makes it difficult to utilize it in a very efficient way.
And so, in your professional opinion, would retaining the existing structure materially constrain any redevelopment opportunities at the site?
Well, assuming that you could build a 10-story, 100-foot high or 8 or 10, 9-story building in the site, keeping the building would be highly impractical. It was designed to carry, live and dead loads for 2 stories. So supporting a 10-story structure would just not be feasible. We'd have to include structural columns and caissons running through the existing structure, which would be enormously impractical and result in a very inefficient product.
Right. Alex, you just flip through. I just want to make sure we had all the conceptual. Put this one next. All right. I don't have any further questions. Mr. Rosenberg, any members of the commission do? I mean, all of my witnesses will make themselves available at the conclusion. But I only have one more. Aaron Weiser.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Erin Weiser, and I am a historic preservation consultant and historic tax credit consultant for Heritage Consulting Group out of Philadelphia.
Good morning, Ms. Weiser. Can you just talk briefly just about your experience in your role?
Sure, yes. So I evaluate historic buildings for National Register nominations. historic tax credits, and I conduct historic surveys of historic buildings.
And you were asked to look at this property, correct?
Yes, Mr. Rubin retained us.
And what sort of documents and records do you look at as part of your review?
Sure, so we go through all of your standard city documents, historic newspapers, you'd go through property documents, deeds, all of that. And also just some historic context into when the building was built, the surrounding area, et cetera.
You've heard some testimony about the changes to this building. Did you find those in the records as you were searching?
I did, yes. I did note that the glass block was added on the primary facade as well as on the rear bump out.
Did you also find changes that were made during, even that predated Mr. Rubin's ownership, such as the punched windows, I believe you said in the back, originally weren't there?
Correct, they were not there.
Forgive me for interrupting, but I think people online may not be able to hear you. If
Oh,
if
I'm
you,
sorry.
yeah. Oh, we can hear you in the room, but
Okay, sorry about
you
that.
have to speak a little bit closer to the mic.
How did the changes that have been made over time affect the building, just in terms of a general preservation standpoint?
Sure. So, I mean, when you're evaluating a historic building for integrity purposes, you're looking at all of the elements that have been changed over time. And so, as a whole, the addition of the windows on the rear as well as on the facade, the new storefront, do change the original design intent of the building.
Now, the nomination, I'm going to get into the weeds a little bit. The nomination describes the building as new formalist. What is your take or opinion on that classification for this building?
I certainly think it has elements of the new formalist style, as the applicant stated, and I do think that the changes over time have sort of mucked up that stylistic categorization a little bit. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's your typical example of new formalism.
Are there other architectural styles incorporated in this building as well, do you feel?
Well, it's definitely a vernacular interpretation of new formalism. I mean, the materiality is definitely consistent with sort of a modern brutalist style, although the massing isn't there for brutalism, as well as some mid-century mod, I'd say a little bit as well.
Now, the nomination compares this building to some other, well-known examples, like the Kennedy Center, the World Trade Center, or some other major federal buildings. How does this building compare to those, more well-known examples of new formalism or of modern architecture?
Sure. Well, those were done in massive scale and monumentality compared to this building. And I mean, with those new formalist examples, you're kind of guided toward a more classical interpretation of the style, which is interpreting classical elements of design on a much larger scale. And so you also tend to have a big plaza around it, or some type of big arcade landscape, all of that to kind of set it within its design context.
Before you prepared, or not prepared, before you were retained to analyze this property, did you have any familiarity with it?
I did not. I actually lived nearby there, but and I'm sure I've walked by it, but I did not take notice to it prior to this.
How would you compare, and if we can, Alex, I believe if we can just run through some of the comparisons.
You have some comparisons you included, yeah?
Yeah.
They're up here a little bit, hold on.
Yeah, here we go. So I just want to run through just some examples in Philadelphia of some modern architecture and how did, these compare to what, this nomination for. So starting with Society Hill Towers. Is this more of a classic brutalist design?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, this is brutalist, but yes, it's much more recognizable in the modern architecture context.
And designed by I.M. Pei, who's a notable.
I.M. Pei, yeah.
We can go to the next one. What about the U.S. Mint?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Here's an example about the Parkway House. Now, this isn't on the register, but this is a large building and has certain elements, right?
Yeah, yes, it does. The blockiness, the massing, the exterior materials, all of that.
We could just keep going next. This house you identified, now this is also modern architecture, but falls in a different category, correct?
Yes.
And what can you comment anything about the Hasek House?
I mean, that's a high style design. And so maintaining or retaining a building like that is very important to the education of historic preservation in general.
Next. You speak about this building. I believe it's Louis Kahn, noted Philadelphia architect.
Louis Kahn is a good, he's a fantastic example of a modernist architect of the time. And this is still being used as research laboratory spaces, which is pretty incredible when you're in the preservation field to see things continued in their usage.
I think we might have one or two more. Here's Guild House. It's nearby actually, 7th and Spring Garden. What's notable about this building?
I mean, it's a notable architect, but also it retains more elements of a modernist design than our, we're seeing at our other building.
In all of these other examples we've given, are they similar in scale to the building that we're talking about today?
No, not quite.
Now, I want to then also talk, aside from the architectural significance, about the historical context and the urban renewal. What is your view on how this building connects to, urban renewal in the late 60s in Philadelphia?
Sure. Well, my understanding of the East Capitol Hill Urban Renewal District was that it was intended use was to revitalize the area with new industrial development as well as residential development. And so that's my understanding of the.
Okay. Would you characterize this building as a strong example of that period and of the architecture and design that was common during that period in this area?
Not in this particular area, no. And not necessarily reminiscent of what the urban renewal program intended to do.
Okay. And is that urban renewal program from the late 60s thought of as a crowning achievement or even a mild success in Philadelphia's history?
Generally, no. It is not seen as a successful program.
And isn't it fair to say it's not until maybe the 2010s that this area finally started seeing some life breathe into it and some redevelopment?
Correct. Yes.
What do we know about the architect that
Not
designed
much.
this building?
No, not much.
And does that matter?
I mean, it does because there's little to compare his other work to, and to develop sort of a context for his design style and integrity.
Did you look at or assess whether you had any opinion of an adaptive reuse of this building?
I did.
And what conclusions did you reach?
It would be a very difficult building to adaptively reuse under the historic tax credit program or without the assistance of, some major addition to the building.
And what would a major addition do when we're talking just about a sub 4,000 square foot footprint?
It would really minimize the building. I mean, it would totally overtake it.
And that wouldn't be in line with the Secretary of Interior standards, right?
No.
Okay. Now, for historic preservation, if a property meets one of the criteria, does that compel a designation?
It doesn't compel a designation.
Are there other considerations and factors that can look at it from a preservation standpoint, determining whether or not a building is worthy of preservation?
Yes.
And it's not just viewed in a vacuum, right?
Sure.
Okay. Overall, what conclusions did you reach about this particular building?
The conclusions are that it is a relatively unknown building with a bit of a mixed style and a bit of insignificant history. And that changes have been made over time to its interior and exterior.
Do you think that designation of this building would serve a clear public benefit?
No, I do not.
I don't have any further questions.
All right. Thank you, Michael. Are there any comments from the commissioners at this time?
I think I can make a couple of technical points.
Sure.
I think, and I'm going to go back to the committee discussion, because I think, as we noted at the time, and I think we discussed it with Ms. Wiley when she was in the meeting, the examples that she chose have some physical resemblance and stylistic resemblance to this building, but we pointed out that the scale question was something that was not necessarily inappropriate. This is very typical of people who are learning about architectural history, who don't understand that there's a difference between a vernacular building and a monumental scale building, and that you're really talking about apples and oranges when you're comparing this building to the Alfred Newton Richards and David Goddard laboratories at Penn by Louis Kahn. You can't put them in the same category. You have to think about them differently. This is a vernacular building. We have designated many modernist vernacular buildings. And this is something that we talked about at the committee level. And the other thing that I will say is that there is, as the author of the National Historic Landmark nomination for the Kahn Building, and someone who's written National Register nominations, as well as city designation documentation, you have to think about these as different categories. You evaluate the eligibility of a property for listing in the National Register differently than you evaluate the eligibility for listing for a property in the Philadelphia Register, and differently from the way for a building for potential listing as a National Historic Landmark. It's very different. And so I think your comparisons are really in the category of apples and oranges. Speaking as someone who was in the meeting and heard my colleagues praise this building as a vernacular modernist building. We did think, I did in particular, and again, it's something that happens fairly regularly, that people apply style names anachronistically after the fact. But I think that as I have said, we felt unanimously as a committee that there was a distinctive style here that represented those vernacular buildings of this period. This building has a great deal of resemblance, for example, to the work of Carol Grisden and Van Allen, a number of buildings that we have designated. So I think, and one other important technical point, which comes out of making a key differentiation between evaluating eligibility for some listing in the National Register versus eligibility for listing in the Philadelphia Register, is the fact that there is no integrity test under the Philadelphia Code. We have often considered whether a property has material that's appropriate to convey the significance, but there is no test. And so invoking integrity as a concept that is key to listing in the National Register, and it is crucial to listing as a National Historic Landmark, is not actually appropriate for evaluations of eligibility for listing in the city register.
Thank you, Emily. We're going to turn it over to public comment at this time. No.
I just wanted to make one comment on that. And I also just wanted to point out that the nomination itself does compare this building to the World Trade Center and these.
Yes, I know, and we discussed that at the time, as you may remember. And the point is that I hope our discussion at the committee level was fulsome enough to address that point, which we did, I believe.
Thank you.
In closing, I would just want to say before we move it over, the question that we are asking is not whether this building meets one of the criteria and whether that alone qualifies it for inclusion on the historic register. We're asking the commission to utilize its inherent discretion, as Dr. Farnham will often say, that this is a two-step process. One, does it meet the criteria? But then two, if it does meet the criteria, is this particular property worth placing on the register in consideration of all of the other factors brought to your knowledge? And the rules and regulations provide that you make an informed and reasoned decision based on that. And it is our position that here, when we look at this building and the historic significance of this building, the architect of this building, the difficulties of any adaptive reuse and challenges inherent in this building on the one hand, and then on the other hand, you look at the potential for a gift of life, its directly adjacent neighbor who is under agreement to purchase this to increase its life-saving and life-altering services. That is not hyperbole in whether the decision is between bricks and mortar here and life. And I think you do have to weigh, there is a sliding scale here. You know, Independence Hall, Betsy Ross House are looked differently than some of the vernacular examples that are on the register that are worthy of being on the register because perhaps there is not the countervailing public policy at issue. Here, this is a unique case. It is fact specific. And I would implore the commission to make an informed and reasoned decision on this building that recognizes the great public policy to be gained by allowing gift of life's expansion and furthering of their life-saving services. I thank you.
Thank you, Michael. We'll turn over to public comment now. Are there any hands raised on Zoom? Yeah.
Do Zoom first? Okay.
Yeah.
Or on Zoom, we have Oscar Beisert.
Please go ahead, Mr. Beisert.
Hi, Oscar Beisert, Keeping Society.
ahead.
I just wanted to, I'm sorry, I had to step away, so I'm not, if I repeat something someone else says, my apologies. I just wanted to state that it is an interesting building, and I do believe it meets the criteria. And I thank the nominator for making a case for the building. I also wanted to recognize that this is a great example of how well-crafted and how great our preservation ordinance is as it is, that the commission does have the discretion to consider development plans that are in place at the time of a nomination or a property sale that's in place. And, you know, at times there are obviously missions that are more important than historic buildings. I did want to again thank the nominator and also thank the property owner for saving the Furness Bank and I guess donating this building and saving so many lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beisert. Next public comment from Zoom.
I was giving it a moment. There's no additional hands raised on Zoom.
Thank you. Mr. Sankey, please step up to the mic.
Good morning once again. Paul Stanky, representing the Preservation Alliance. Let's get real. This is one of those uncomfortable situations where preservation is being pitted against a very worthy historic or human services organization. So I just want to start out by saying that we do take issue with the contention that the property lacks architectural significance or worthiness for the register. Don't take it from us. Take it from the staff recommendation, take it from the Committee on Historic Designation that voted unanimously that it does. So I think from the standpoint of most of the experts in the room, the property does meet the criteria. We recognize and respect the vital mission of Gift of Life and the important services that the organization provides. But the arguments they're raising raise broader procedural concerns that I think we need to think about here. Most notably, they claim that they entered into an agreement to acquire the site, but it doesn't indicate when that agreement was executed, whether it predates the commission's notice of intent to designate, and whether the agreement is contingent on due diligence or other provisions. So if the commission were to decline to designate, primarily based on the intentions of Gift of Life's prospective purchase, it could create a precedent where property owners will seek to avoid designation through contingent agreements that are unsupported by concrete development proposals. That's what this is. It's not a concrete development proposal, it's aspirational. Gift of Life does not present specific development plans. It doesn't identify funding, doesn't identify timelines. There's no design. It's just really a general aspiration for future expansion. So I'm sure all of you around the room, as human beings, as I am, are thinking, geez, maybe we should buy their argument and not designate this because Gift of Life wants it, the owner wants to sell it to them. Why get in their way? Because Gift of Life does such important work to serve its community. I would propose that there's a third way. You could decline to designate, you could designate, or potentially, could the commission consider keeping the nomination in place? Look, the real estate business is full of aspirations that don't come to fruition. Deals fall apart, circumstances change, financing disappears, organizational priorities change. That could happen here. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. But if you decline to designate, you're basically giving this property away. Instead, keep the nomination in place until such time as plans, financing, and zoning and building permits are in place. Make a deal with these two property owners that will revisit this in the future if and when those things become a reality. To make a definitive decision now, one way or the other, has clear downsides. But to do nothing and keep the nomination in place is an obvious upside. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Well, it's just, Mr. Rubin can clarify. I mean, we've been transparent about when the agreement was entered into and how long he had had discussions with Gift of Life. But I just want him to expand on those discussions with Gift of Life and this unique property.
This is an absolute go ahead. They have the funding, okay? I'm not allowed to discuss it. They have asked us specifically not to make this public.
So can you use the microphone
Okay.
so that it's
They have,
heard over?
Gift of Life have asked us specifically not to get into details because that is the nature of their organization. They have asked not to spend money on architectural plans when this is only, at this point, everything is in your hands. If this is approved, I can guarantee you, we will be back here with plans. Mr. Rosenberg has extensive plans that he has drawn up for this building. We were asked, please, not to show those by the Gift of Life. We were asked not to explain their finances. We were explain all of that. They have a signed agreement of sale. This is a concrete agreement of sale. They are not backing out of it. They can't get out of this deal, all right?
Except.
Well, except if you designate the building as a historic building. I mean, look, any deal there can be problems with. I can't guarantee that. They are absolutely bent on getting onto this property. They have nowhere else to go. They will leave the city of Philadelphia.
And I just wanted to make that, this is not a pure general development. This isn't an, I mean, this is, the decision is Gift of Life's expansion. And yes, that is not a concrete development plan that is in front of you, but that is the reality. It's there.
I think we
You know,
understand.
they cannot move ahead
Yeah.
with anything as long as this designation is in place.
I
And they won't, because they can't use public funds, donated money, so on and so forth, if they're going to run into being told no after they've spent all this money.
Understood.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Commissioner. Are there any comments from commissioners at this time? Go ahead, Bob. Are there more public comments? Great, go ahead.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Good morning, Ariel Harris again with Repoint. I think this building's great. Like Misha said, I've not seen anything like this anywhere else in Philadelphia and would love to see it retained. Like she said, I think it's possible to redevelop this site with this building there. You can use your discretion like you used with the previous nomination to determine certain additions as non-contributing. One thing this building reminds me of is actually the reactivation on Market Street. There's a mid-century modern kind of Gothic building on the 900 block of Market that Meantime Philadelphia has adapted into readapted into commercial use again and painted an amazing mural on it. I think this would be kind of an amazing candidate for like a wrap sort of decoration on it. And I actually like counted the piers, and it the word gift of life could actually be placed on every pillar in between these windows, just like the Philadelphia Museum of Art does for various installations, in between the columns of their front facade. I think there's definitely an opportunity here to reuse this building without compromising the Gift of Life's mission to increase their housing for their patients. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comments in the room? Seeing no public comment in the room, are there any comments from commissioners? Bob, please go.
Thank you. Yeah, I think all the comments were very well put, but the analysis that we have, a nomination, does it meet the criteria? Secondly, is there a public purpose that's been advanced? And the third is, can the commission do its job, which many times, in time that I've been here, which is extensive, we have had buildings that are clearly eligible for registration or for designation, but we were able to look at other conditions and chose not to designate. We have the right to do that. So while I have to say I completely disagree with the analysis that this building does not meet the criteria, I agree completely with the ruling of the staff and of the designation committee. This building does meet at least one of the criteria. So we are looking at a building that is eligible for designation. Let's put that on one side. The other side is, this is an incredibly wonderful public purpose. It's an area that, is kind of forlorn in many ways. I mean, this is something that is not in a sense, a for-profit making business. It provides an incredibly important service. They happen to be there already. This would allow for expansion of that. So we have something that really, it comes up to the public purpose that we look at when we do choose not to designate, or we allow a designation to be reversed or whatever. So then the question is, how do we do that? I heard the word guarantee from Mr. Rubin, and I'm certainly familiar with his work. I remember the Furness Bank and all the many other things that have been done. So I understand I run into this with the development projects that we work on as architects. Well, we can't do this until we have a guarantee, but we can't have a guarantee until we this, and we're not allowed to talk about that. And yet we're being asked if we designate, or if we choose not to designate, I think it would be 3 years before someone could decide to designate again. In the meantime, the owner would have the right to demolish. So the question is, I think what it falls on all of us here at the commission is to come up with an answer of what is it that we could do that we guarantee if I am comfortable with the criteria that if this project, is guaranteed to move ahead, right? I mean, suppose it falls apart. Well, then the designation could come in play, something like that. But I think that's what I see us crafting in the next 20 or 30 minutes so that we could move ahead with.
Well, that's the fuzzy part.
Yeah, well, that's why we have.
There's also the rescission process.
Right,
Yes,
right.
yeah.
And
well,
then
We will not be replaced by AI.
Sure.
On the fuzzy stuff. So let's get
Not,
down.
not today, anyway.
Yeah, let's get down to the fuzzy stuff and figure out how to do that.
Yeah, no,
Recognizing that we're also always conscious of, as we just did in the earlier case on Umbria Street, we made clear to clarify why we were allowing something that might not be allowed somewhere else. You know,
I just was speaking to the esteemed counsel, Leonard Reuter, about the 3-year prohibition that you mentioned. And that's actually, that was proposed, but it is not in the regulations yet. I mean,
Yeah.
look, if the agreement with Gift of Life didn't go through, this could be renominated the day after, you know, the notice was provided of that. There's no, I think it was proposed to have a 3-year waiting period or some stall, but that is not part of the regulations right now.
That would be 100% acceptable to me. That's how the confidence I have in this. After meeting with them over and over and over again, they desperately, desperately, desperately need this property. I am absolutely open to your suggestions, sir.
okay. Well, I'm also thinking just in terms of making guarantees, we're just brainstorming. If we said, we accept the nomination and the building is designated, and we guaranteed that that designation would be withdrawn at the time that you came in with your guaranteed arrangement with, you know.
Well, we have an agreement of sale in place.
I don't-
They are under,
But we can't see it, you know.
And deposits.
Yeah, well, look, I'm glad and will, again, I was reluctant to submit it, you know, as part of the public record because it is subject to a confidentiality. I would be glad to provide a confidential redacted version to Dr. Farnham and to the commission to establish that it is absolutely, I mean, Gift of Life says in their letter, they're under agreement, and Mr. Rubin will testify that it's under agreement.
That's what I'm looking for, some way that we can do it so that the next case that comes in, someone doesn't just say, well, I have a Wawa that I think they're pretty sure they're gonna want to be here, you know, or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Sorry, we could have a vote pending the submission of a redacted agreement of sale after the fact.
And you could require me to notify the commission in the event that agreement of sale was terminated for any purpose, and I would also agree to notify the nominator.
I think that's the crucial point is if just as for a hypothetical,
Table.
no, not table.
Don't want a table.
No, we don't want a table. That leads to problems. If a motion, a hypothetical motion would be, we move that the property meets one or more of the criteria, but we decline to designate at this time.
Yeah.
Then the second part of the motion is the issue. What is it, do we say in the event that a sale agreement lapses in X months? I don't know what the next appropriate, you know, what the.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
what
call
the
upon our
appropriate-
attorney,
Yes,
Len Reuter,
Leonard,
please
yes.
step.
There we go.
Clarify what can be done here.
So, certainly appreciate like the creative thinking that's going on. The problem is that once you make a decision not to designate, anything else beyond that is superfluous. That's it. You cannot
You
retain.
lost your foothold.
Now, again,
Yeah.
could we do what, you know, has been called like an out-of-court type settlement or agreement with Mr. Phillips and Mr. Rubin, saying that they agree that they will not demolish the building unless the agreement of sale is executed. And I would probably want to add something like, once you decline designation, Mr. Rubin could just go ahead and demolish the building. So whether or not that agreement of sale goes through, so I would suggest if we had some agreement like that, that we would also have an agreement that he not demolish the building. But that would just be something that the law department would have to enforce as a separate agreement. We did a separate agreement similar to that. I mean, not at all similar to that, but we did a separate agreement outside of the jurisdiction of the commission when we saved the Tiffany and Violet Oakley stained glass at the church, the Episcopal Church in whatever that is, Mount Airy. I don't know. Paul, I don't think you were at the. Yeah, I don't think I think that was that was when John Gallery was still. So we have done that kind of thing, but you could, I mean, I would at least want something on the record from Mr. Phillips, Mr. Rubin, that they would agree to enter into that kind of agreement. Just, again, he's a member of the bar, he's an officer of the court. I take his word for it. I should also remind everybody that even though we don't take sworn testimony, A, we could if we wanted to, but B, also, anybody that speaks to any public official is bound by the criminal code, which requires that which states that you cannot make unsworn falsifications to public officials or public authorities. So just because you're not under oath, you still have to tell the truth. And if you're not telling the truth, you're in violation of the law. So I take what Mr. Rubin and Mr. Phillips say about having an actual agreement as being true. And I think we have to accept that as true unless it's otherwise proven not to be true. And there's no reason why any of us would ever doubt that. In this instance, yeah.
Sure.
So again, the bottom line is that, and again, you could still just ignore all this and choose to designate, but if you choose not to designate, if you direct me to enter into such an agreement, and Mr. Phillips and Mr. Rubin put it on the record that they would agree that the building would not be demolished unless and until the closing on the property, then I think I could do that.
Do you want that as part of the motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Kim.
Does that agreement then come back to the commission for us to view and see what the restrictions are? Because I don't think the closing is enough. I don't know about other folks.
Well,
but
I would maybe
development is
closing
so-
and submission of a zoning permit.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I had to just ask permission to tell you this.
Okay. Go ahead.
In our,
You have to talk
I'm
into
sorry,
the mic.
in our.
Okay.
Was it? I'm sorry, that was part of the agreement.
I think part of.
I'm using the building
Part of the
itself.
hesitation is not only the disposition of the property, but the redevelopment by gift of life.
Yes,
So what we would want to see is not only the disposition and proof of an agreement of sale, but also filed zoning permit within a certain period of time.
Well, and see that, I think that is one of the complicating factors because Gift of Life has not begun development plans. Again, they are not your traditional developer. They just know that they need this property for their future expansion. And so the key that we're looking at is closing on the agreement of sale with Gift of Life and just becoming the Gift of Life's property. And at that point, anything that Gift of Life were to do with this would be part of their public mission and would be to a benefit. We would agree that during Mr. Rubin's time of ownership, until his transaction closes on a sale to Gift of Life, the property will not be demolished and we would enter into, I would agree to enter into a private agreement.
What we don't
with
want
the
to
city.
have happen is Gift of Life decides that this is going to be a great parking lot that serves their public mission.
Right.
Exactly.
That is not even in consideration.
Well, it may not be, it may,
It's not. You have not been in the rooms with them. They have been there begging for this property.
and I'd love to take your word for it, but I think what this committee is asking for is considerable evidence and a path forward for development of this property by Gift of Life.
Right, well,
Yes,
they have told us they need at least 38 more rooms. You can't do that in a parking lot.
Okay, and
So,
again, I'd love to take your word for it, but what we're looking for is some proof of development by Gift of Life. So if
Unfortunately,
they can,
You're
if
not-
we
and
can-
I understand,
You're not
but
gift of life.
I'm not the Gift of Life.
I
The Gift
understand.
of Life gets donations from people. Okay, that's how they operate.
Yeah.
All right, that both in the form of organs, skin, and money. They can't start spending money on a property such as architectural due diligence, construction, all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
To then tell their donors that we don't even have control of the property because the city still has it on their designation.
Mr.
They will
can we-
not
can we
spend
give
one
them
penny to
Can we
do
give
that.
them 12 to 18 months to file a zoning permit? That sounds
Well,
totally fair to me.
so even though I maybe am one of the people that
By all
suggested
means.
we could
But-
do this, the problem with even, and now I realize the problem with even asking that for an agreement that's contingent upon the issue, or the submission of an application, or even the actual issuance of a zoning permit for development, is that I can't enter an agreement with Michael Phillips and Mr. Rubin about that. That has to be an agreement with Gift of Life, who is not here.
They're not at the table.
They're not at the table.
That's,
And I doubt that Mr. Phillips has any authority to bind them
No,
to
of course
anything.
not.
So, again, we're back to the situation of, we can get an agreement, presumably that, and I think Mr. Phillips has already confirmed that we could get an agreement that there will not be a demolition prior to the closing, I guess, or the actual acquisition, the conveyance of the property from Mr. Rubin to Gift of Life. And we can probably even require that conveyance be to Gift of Life and not, Mr. Benny down the street or something like that.
Sure.
That's easy enough. But beyond that point, it's very, very, I can't do an agreement. We can't do an agreement because that requires that third party to be involved, unless you think you can get
I
there.
understand.
I mean, they want an absolute guarantee that they can get this property, and you want an absolute guarantee that they're going to develop it. I mean, we're both looking
Yeah.
for the exact same thing.
Well, I think
So
that,
how do we get there?
yeah, I think that a little bit of this could have been mitigated. And I understand that they don't want to have skin in the game and they don't want to put themselves out until they have possession of the property or guarantee it's going to be, I understand there's opportunity cost, but a lot of this could have been mitigated if they developed plans and if they filed a zoning permit. Would have made our job much, much easier.
And
here.
I have paid to develop plans because they couldn't.
I understand.
So, I mean.
Yeah, it would have made our job much easier to see that. We'd be done this conversation right now.
And the best we could do
No,
is show you
sure.
programmatically and
Okay.
illustratively what
All right.
the potential is.
Yeah.
We just rely
And they,
on the letter.
and be honest, they asked us not to show it because they don't know, they may change, change how they configure the building. They don't want this in the public record. This is what we promised you we would do. They have added
I get-
in the past couple of weeks, they've asked to add in children's playground for the kids who are going under burns and so on and so forth, to have a place to play, or where their parents are
Sure.
in the hospital for months at a time. This is where these people go, by the way.
it's not cooked yet.
We understand. Bob,
Right.
Bob, go
But
ahead.
they want it. It's
We
just a
understand.
matter of how much and how,
Go ahead, Bob.
A couple things just come to mind. In recent past, there was a proposed designation of the Vanaventuri House in Chestnut Hill, right? And it was found that the application had merit, the building was eligible for designation. They asked that we not proceed with the actual designation because they wanted to take advantage of the tax deduction for
An easement
con-
donation.
Easement
It was an easement donation.
Easement
Actually,
If we designated it right away, then the easement donation wouldn't be as valuable. So I think it took a year for them to get that easement in place. And then they
This is
came
not the
back and then
same.
we were able to designate it after that. So I'm just saying that's an example of something similar.
Sure.
The other thing that comes to mind is, the big buildings on Parkside Avenue across from the Police Touch, across from Memorial Hall. There, in that transaction, Penrose was involved with Parkside and others, but there were all these things we can't close if you don't do this first, but you have to do this first before we close, and the way that they handled that was brilliant. They set a closure, right? It was in a room. I think the doors were locked, so that as soon as someone signed something, the other thing was, when you had that same situation, John Rosenthal was a genius in how to handle that.
We understand.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, I think we have enough brains here in the room to come up with something, because we're all trying to get this to work. So I think you put it, yeah, so the strategy, don't designate because the building's not eligible, I think we throw that away and we say, look, we have something here, it's of extraordinary value to the city of, the services, so let's figure out how to craft that.
We
Let
understand.
me ask you, can you not designate and make a stipulation where you're gonna come back in 3 or 4 years and bring it up again? Because if they're not building in 3 or 4 years,
well,
I mean, that whole.
but doesn't that violate your agreement? I think it
Well-
would, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think,
Yeah, well-
my proposal again was, and again, I have to It's like when I go before RCOs and I tell my clients, you better do what you say you're going to do because I have to go before this RCO again. I will be before the commission again. I have, you know, if my clients don't live up to their words, I lose credibility. So that's why I was offering that if, you know, I was stipulating that if and when this agreement of sale is either terminated at any point in time prior to conveyance to gift of life, I will notify and would agree to enter into an agreement with the city that I will notify the nominator and notify all parties, you know, within 3 business days of that happening, which would allow a nomination to be resubmitted and would immediately, you know, protect the property. I would be willing to do that.
I don't see any problem with that.
Okay.
I think they're
that's-
missing, I think they're missing the concept here because it's not, for me, it's not just the disposition. Your client is the current property owner. Your client is not the future property owner,
Yeah,
right?
but,
And so,
but they're not at the table.
right, so that's what I'm saying. So that's the problem. I don't think we don't think you're credible. We know your client is going to do what he said he's going to do. It benefits him to sell the property and go through with the disposition. I think the uncertainty comes in with the nonprofit who doesn't have plans, who can't show that they have money. There's nothing there to say that the specific public purpose that we're choosing to acknowledge over a building that's worthy of designation, there is no certainty to that. So that's where I think everyone is uncomfortable because we know that development is uncertain and there's so many things that could come into place that will make that purpose never come to fruition. And so then what happens then? How do we protect the building, which is our
Delay
interest?
it a couple years down the road. Why are we in a rush for this? Why don't we give them a chance? I mean, today you're making a choice of whether to save this building or save people's lives. That's where you're at here, okay? And everyone in this room has to understand that. How are you going to look in the public domain? And I'm just bringing this up. This building, they want to save people's lives. They know that this will allow them to do that. They will have to leave the city of Philadelphia. I don't know how that's going to look on everybody.
I'm a
Take
I'm a
strategy.
nonprofit developer, right?
Okay.
And so every development I do is for the community purpose, right?
you've
And so
done
I've
one
been in
already.
this very position now where I've sat on the other side of the table and we were advocating for a supermarket in a food desert, a health center and a primary care desert and affordable housing. So this is what I do all day, every day.
Good, then you should
So
understand.
I do understand, but I also sit on the commission and I understand that our duty is to protect historic buildings, right? And so we do have two interests and we are sympathetic to the public use here, but there is no certainty, there is no information, there is no evidence being
we have
presented on the other side, aside from a letter.
2 letters that Gift of Life sent in to the public record that indicated publicly that they are under agreement and they need this for redevelopment. They don't need it for a parking lot. They have plenty of parking. They don't need it for just to keep there. Now, maybe they would want to make it
Let's
into
get
a
back to
playground or
solutions.
something for children. We don't know what their programmatic needs are, but we do know that they're one of the largest nonprofit organizations. And they are something to be proud of in Philadelphia, and that would engender pride in the city to walk by a Gift of Life redevelopment, and that's where we are.
Put it off for 3 years and see where we are.
I'm going to make a motion. I move that we find that the property at 428 to 34 North 4th Street is the National Marine Engineers Beneficial Association office is worthy of designation in this Philadelphia Register, but that we decline to designate this property at this time, but that we accept the offer made by the current property owner and his representation about, with respect to not demolishing the building until such time as the agreed purchaser goes through disposition.
I second. Okay, are any commissioners opposed at this time? All right, now or no, that's okay. Are any commissioners opposed at this time? Hearing no opposition, that motion is adopted by unanimous consent. Thank you, commissioners. Sorry about that. If you have a question, by all means.
I don't know. When the building is added to the designation, thanks. Added to, when a building is designated, does the commission have the ability to then decide to demolish it or adjust to development plans. Like when,
I'm not sure. I
yeah,
understand.
when a building is on the register.
When
the
the building
commission
is
has
on
the
a
ability-
register and a project is proposed, it goes through the architectural review committee. And it goes through the staff review, and then if it's a sufficiently, order of magnitude large enough project, or there are specific characteristics of it, it then comes to the full commission. And that would include demolition. But
So there
that would-
still is the potential if this building is designated for the Gift of Life development to go through.
No, it is not.
Okay.
They will not proceed.
No,
They
I
can't
mean,
use
what,
public funds
So
to
legally-
proceed if it's
no,
not.
we've just declined to designate at this time.
Sorry, I don't mean to waste.
Yeah,
people's
no,
time.
I mean, if that does not preclude a future nomination if presumably things change.
Yeah. Thank you.
I guess
So-
the way I understand it, Mr. Rubin, is we've chosen not to decline. We've, taken into account a very significant public purpose, right? So now you have a property which is not designated, right? We do not, and to my knowledge, we cannot say that someone else won't come along tomorrow and file a designation. And anyone can file a designation.
Yeah, I mean.
Right,
the-
so-
the
so
point-
just
the
as
point
you-
Being though, having declined one.
So there's
one
no
to
way
decline
that
to
our,
not
just so clear,
Designate once.
there's no way that our decision not to put the building list the building on the Register of Historic Places puts it right back to where it was 5 years ago, 10 years, it's now an undesignated property.
Is anybody who knows me, and you do, I'm not leaving this building. It's my office.
Right.
I'm not leaving until the day they come by and say the bulldozers are coming next week.
Yeah.
So, I need this office. To be frank with you, I have no idea where I'm going. So, part of our agreement is to stay, I mean, this building suits me
Yeah,
fine.
no.
So,
But what I'm saying is, in talking with your potential buyer, with whom you have a strong relationship, you can say, look, they didn't designate. We cannot do, it would be like what our president has done, where not only aren't they going after him for his, they're giving him a blank, we will never examine your tax returns. So we can't say here. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So we can't say,
Yeah.
we've said, look, we're not gonna put the building on the register. We declined to put it on the register. We cannot in any way guarantee that someone else won't.
I think I think we all understand that. Everybody's on this.
What I'm saying is, I'm hoping that gives you
Sure.
and your buyer the confidence you need to continue moving along, get,
It sounds like it does. So
they
with that,
they can start spending public
sure.
funded money to proceed with this.
right. And
I
we
think now they have that
should be able to
assurance.
do that
So
with what's
with
transpired.
with
here.
that, I will motion to conclude this 766th stated meeting of the Historical Commission.
I'll second.
Great, thank you. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, staff.
You're welcome. Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
I didn't know about that building. You were actually.